Hi, welcome to Sidewalk Slam, or to use its full name, well, it looks like some sort of Sidewalk Slam.
Tony Schiavone was the worst. He was so bad. Because I mentioned to you before that I was going back and watching old WCW footage.
Yeah.
And like Schiavone is a mess, and Bobby Heenan is the best.
I just love when they would. I was watching a clip of Bobby Heenan and Dusty Rhodes making fun of Schiavone live on commentary. He's like, "Oh, so and so used a mafia slam," and they were like, "That's not a thing. You can't just make stuff up."
Yeah, he says words like he literally just fills the air with things, and when he gets confused, he just says "move."
Well, I mean, we're gonna just be sort of
that's what we're doing.
Fill the air with things today.
Move.
Hey, everybody! I'm Graham.
I'm Adam,
and we're gonna talk about wrestling. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, is a wrestling podcast, and we've actually had many requests for a wrestling podcast because I mean it's never at the height, the dizzying heights of the Attitude Era, but wrestling is it's kind of like a cool thing. It's getting back into back in sort of a little bit more mainstream.
And you know what?
And we have opinions about it, and not just that, we have opinions that we don't feel are served by a lot of the online discourse.
Yeah.
Because you were saying that like a lot of online discourse about wrestling is really negative.
Oh, it's super negative.
Yeah.
Like, I have problems with the product.
Oh yeah.
Like we all do.
Oh, I made some notes for later in this episode. You'll get
I have a book.
You'll get to hear some of my problems with the current product.
Yeah. But I feel like there is a lot of positives. And you know what? By hook or by crook, like the product's probably some of the best that we've ever had, I would say.
Yeah.
Just not only just in talent-wise.
Bear with us. I know that might sound weird, but talent-wise, definitely. Yeah. They probably have the deepest, most talented roster they've had in a long time.
But even like from a story standpoint,
utilize some of it better.
Yeah. But I mean, even then, like I try to temper a lot of my expectations with ever since the WWE, and this is mostly what we were talking about is WWE.
Yeah.
But since they became publicly traded, like there is another layer that adds on to it, right?
Yeah, they're less inclined to sort of do weird risks.
Yeah. It's like the...
Can you imagine the investor call after it was found out that Cena was injured and out of Mania?
Oh my God.
Can you imagine the investor call?
A lot of undone ties and like dudes just like ordering Chinese at 3 a.m, like...
So basically our goal for Sidewalk Slam is to, and this is a pilot, right? Like we've prepped a little bit, but we're just coming in here and we're gonna
2 days
see
of
how
prep,
this,
roughly.
we're gonna see how this goes and see what you think and what you like. Because originally I was like, no, if I do a wrestling podcast, it's got to be something totally different. It's got to be unique. It can't just be like, hey, I'm a 30-year-old white dude and here's my fantasy booking, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want it to be that, but. Then I started talking to Adam, and I was like, no, you know what? I think we actually do have something to bring to the table that's a little different, I hope. And so we'll see how that goes.
I think a lot of it, with anything I like to do, is just like very natural. So it's like, okay, we want to do the show. What do we want to do? It's like, I don't know. Let's just find out.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about something that we both legitimately like.
Yeah, because what you said also that really hit me is being advocates for the medium, basically, because we think wrestling's super cool. Like we're pretty passionate about it, and it gets a lot of hate for dumb reasons, and there's a lot of things that are dumb about it. But it's super cool, and we want to try and share that with you, even if you're not a fan yourself. To that end, if you are a wrestling fan like ourselves. We're not going to talk down to you or like try to make this is purely like entry-level stuff. But bear with us if we pause to explain terminology that, someone who's into it might not, or someone who's not into wrestling might not know.
Because I've had people come up to me and being like, oh, I would just listen, even on Twitter, when I asked you like certain questions, people are like, oh, I would just listen to the podcast. Like I don't even like wrestling or anything. So I mean, it's a good gateway to usher people into like why we love this so much. And it does get a bad rap stemming largely from the 80s and part of it also from the 90s, like the Attitude Era, like is the Jerry Springer era.
Dude, Crash TV was not actually that good of an idea.
A lot of stuff. You know what? That's the part that really grinds my gears about the Attitude Era is like everyone thinks it was just like this wonderful time where everything worked and everything was awesome.
It was also only like a 3-year span of time.
Yeah,
like it was not that
3
long.
years. It was not that long. It was great, and there was some great stuff that came out of it. But there was a lot of garbage too. Just like today, like there's good stuff and there's bad stuff. So I think the nostalgia glasses are too thick sometimes.
Also, it doesn't help that like one of my main sources because I used to like read all the dirt sheets, right? Like the wrestling tabloid news sites. And now I just consolidate all that to reading the r/squared circle wrestling subreddit, which by and large
Never read it.
is fine. It's a fine place, but much like, I'm super into Magic the Gathering, and much like the Magic subreddit, it's full of a lot of really angry people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, full of a lot of great people too, and a great place for news and a great place to discuss stuff, but a lot of people who are just like, WWE is crap and garbage and here's why.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's, I think it's a little more nuanced than that, actually.
Yeah.
So, we have opinions. They're not all good. They're not all bad. And I think this will be interesting because we're going to dive right in at the deep end, and we're going to basically walk through and break down the Royal Rumble.
We're going to try to anyway.
We're going to try to.
Neither of us are like experts, right? We've just been watching wrestling a long time.
Yeah.
And we like certain things.
And I have opinions on storytelling also.
Oh God, don't. Yeah, I got notes, man, about some of the storytelling that went on, specifically in the Royal Rumble matchup.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Because it cracked me up too. Because I was like, Graham, we should really do this wrestling podcast, and you're like, yeah, we talked about it back and forth, and then you texted me after you watched the Rumble.
Yeah.
And you're like, we got to have words, man. I was like, all right, okay, good. I don't want to hear any of it. I want you to wait.
Yeah.
I just want to hear what you
I'm
have
excited.
to say. I've been super excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially in my life, like, I don't have a lot of people that I know.
Neither do I.
Yeah. It's like,
Kathleen has picked up a lot. My wife, Kathleen, has picked up a lot through osmosis and through watching me do it. And so when I come back from the Rumble, or from watching a pay-per-view, because I have like some buddies from high school that I basically only see when we watch the Rumble and WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, so what happened? And I'll be like, well, so-and-so won. And she's like, really?
That's awesome.
Yeah, like she knows enough to know when booking is bad, which is nice. But I don't have anyone to talk with, passionately.
Yeah, just like someone that loves storytelling. I love stories. I love reading. I love a good bad guy, like more than anything.
This is why if you're not into wrestling, if you don't get it and why we think it's cool, I highly recommend you watch Wrestling Isn't Wrestling by Max Landis. He's on YouTube as Up to My Knees is the thing. It's like a 25-minute within storyline character summary of the character of Triple H and talking about all the stuff that's great and all the stuff that's stupid, and basically that is why wrestling is
it's
interesting.
Great. Like,
it's weird. I realized that with the exception of Wrestling Isn't Wrestling, all the like wrestling commentary content I consume is from the UK and Ireland.
That's where a lot of it comes from.
Yeah. It's like the What Culture top 10 lists, the Mark Remark by Lil Karibo, OSW Review, and Botchamania. It's all from the UK and Ireland.
I stumbled upon OSW and I like fell in love immediately. Like I watched everything before. I don't even know if it's still up. Is it still up?
Oh yeah, it's still going.
Happy days are here. It's a great show. I love
it's
that
real
show.
good.
Yeah.
Basically, we like talking about wrestling. Oh yeah, real quick. So we're gonna get into talking about the Rumble, and we're gonna be showing some footage from that as well, which will be a little different from our usual podcasts, and there'll be a more significant video component. At least that's what we're trying in the pilot episode. But real quick, our personal sort of histories with wrestling. Just so people have some sort of idea of where we're coming from on this.
Okay, so I always loved wrestling, like even as a kid. So I went from like, whenever I could feasibly remember watching, probably like 87, 88, until pretty much straight till 2002-ish, as like watching every week, like tried not to miss a show.
Right.
And then after the invasion angle, after WCW was bought out and they did the invasion angle, I think it was in 2002. I'm really just going off the top of my head here. But I was so...
Wasn't it 99 or something? I thought the simulcast was 99. I don't remember.
No.
I'll look it up while you talk.
Okay. Well, after the invasion angle, Teenage Adam was so upset at how they handled like all of his favorite wrestlers.
Right.
Namely, like, RVD ended up becoming a lot bigger. But initially, I was one of those people that was like, if he's not champion, I'm not watching your crappy product. Like, I was so adamant about my favorites needed to be at the top of the card kind of thing.
Mid 2001.
Mid 2001?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Was the invasion
It was like summer, I think it was like summer 2001. Like that SummerSlam where Rock beat Booker T.
Right.
And they had all those other kind of crossover matches.
Right.
And then, they turned DDP into a stalker and they did...
DDP got a rough go.
Yeah. They just did like... It's just like, I don't get it. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I get it because...
Like at the time, even though that you had some fundamental understanding of how wrestling was... You had some idea of how it was staged, kind of, but you were still sort of like, but the guys that I like and they're being...
Yeah, they're just being like...
out.
Kind of treated unfairly, I guess, even though like, or just like, yeah, the characters I loved were just being either given weird things to do, like totally out of character. Like, since when does DDP become a stalker? You know what I mean? The DDP that I watched in WCW that I fell in love
But
with.
they just ignored that character.
Yeah, like it's just
he was a wrestler. He was different. Brand new rookie to the sport, DDP.
Oh God, I hate it when they're starting to get better, which we'll talk about
really,
later.
Really happy with some. Well, again, we'll talk about
We'll
that
talk about
specifically in the Rumble.
Yeah,
very happy.
But I was like, oh my God, they did it! Like they're doing it!
Yeah.
Like they're making, because there's a good large subset of fans that love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like me and Graham, and there's thousands of other people out there.
So 2001, you're like, this is garbage.
like,
I'm out.
I'm done.
What brought you back?
The CM Punk pipe bomb.
Pipe bomb.
Yeah, I was like kind of off and on with wrestling. I'd peek in, read some results, and I'd be like, I'm not ready to come back. And then someone I know was like, oh, you should watch the last episode of Raw because there's this guy, CM Punk. I was like, oh, I know CM Punk. He was like, because I was a big indie guy when I was growing up too. So like Ring of Honor, early Ring of Honor stuff I really liked.
I have basically no indie cred. Heads up.
I got legit indie cred.
Nice. For me, it's weird. I watched wrestling occasionally, very occasionally when I was younger. Like when I was quite young, my parents were like, "No, it's too violent. You're not watching that TV, right?" Like they didn't want me watching The Simpsons because it was too vulgar, right? When I was quite young, right?
My parents just like plot me. They're like, here you go.
But I would occasionally catch it at friends' houses, and of course, again, the Attitude Era was inescapable. Like The Rock and Stone Cold were everywhere. But I wasn't like I wasn't like watching Raw every week. What got me back into wrestling, and I think that this will sort of set the tone for how I come at it. This is super weird.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I heard the news on Twitter or wherever about Chris Benoit.
Okay.
And what he had done.
Yeah.
And how he had, before I knew the full extent of what he'd done, but that he had died and his family was dead, and on the day of a pay-per-view that he was booked to attend.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be competing for the ECW title.
I think so, yeah.
And I was like, from a pure interest of production and storytelling, I was like, I wonder how they handled that. Someone no-showing a championship match live later that day, and they haven't found out until mid-afternoon. I wonder what they're going to do. And now it's so obvious, it's like, well, you'd find a different person, and it ended up being John Morrison.
Yeah.
Or Johnny Nitro, who was repackaged the next night as John Morrison. Or not the next night, because the next night was the awkward, empty arena Chris Benoit tribute show that they didn't talk about. It was very uncomfortable.
Even if you watch stuff on the network now, like the tags for his matches aren't there, which is understandable, right?
It was really weird because I was like, I wonder how they handle it, and then I was like, oh, interesting. So they just got a different guy, huh? But surely they had storyline intentions for him to win this, and they can't do that now. So now what are they going to do here? But as that was happening, I was like, also, this is pretty sweet.
This very cool.
And then I've been basically watching it since then.
That's awesome.
I like having it on in the background while I'm working.
It's such
like I said, I have some buddies from high school who we get together every year and we watch. At minimum, we watch Mania and the Rumble, and so.
That's like so funny that just like what I know of you and like how you look at things, and you're like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But how are they gonna?
Yeah.
What happens now? You know, like
Yeah.
it's just like it's not even it wasn't the initial product or like someone was like, oh, you need to watch this match or something.
Yeah, it wasn't like this is a great match.
Yeah.
Check it out. It was like, that's a curious challenge.
Yeah.
I wonder how they dealt with it.
God, they've had a lot of curious challenges.
So many leading up to this.
Yeah.
In fact, so let's get into it. This is basically going to be a review, a breakdown, reactions to, commentary on
Yeah.
the 2016 Royal Rumble, live from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida.
Yep.
This will be a good crowd. Is there anything notable wrestling related anywhere near or in Orlando?
It would be NXT maybe?
NXT, right? Yeah, the WWE Performance Center. Also, the TNA Impact Zone is in Orlando, Florida.
Is it?
Yeah, at
okay.
Universal Studios.
Yeah, all right.
So, chances of a good crowd, very high.
But I mean, like, events like this, for the uninitiated, the bigger... WWE has 4 big pay-per-views. Some would say only 2 now, but... So, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Those are the big 4. And those will usually attract what they call the smartest fans.
Yeah.
So, usually those crowds are always pretty good.
Yeah. So, you got the wrestling sort of terms for these. You've got a lot of wrestling terms come from like carny terminology, like way old stuff. So you got marks, and a mark is someone who just completely buys into it. They're like, this guy is the good guy and this guy is the bad guy, and they're fighting, and the fighting is real, and everything, and the better wrestler wins the match, and this is how it works. And people are like, I buy it, I believe you completely.
God, I miss those days.
The smarks or smart marks are, I guess, people like us who know that it's staged and know that there's storylines and backstage politics and stuff, but enjoy it anyway because it's fun. So let's hear 2 smarks talk about the Rumble, brought to you by Chex Mix. I thought that was second only to Survivor Series being brought to you by Rolaids. I thought it was just kind of an amusing one.
Chex.
Interestingly, fun trivia, this is the only Royal Rumble event where every match was a championship match.
Oh.
Every match had a title on the line.
Yeah. I didn't even notice.
The only other time that because typically the Royal Rumble match, it's 30 superstars. They enter start with 2, enter at 90-second intervals, and you have to eliminate your opponent by throwing them over the top rope with both feet touching the floor. And the winner of that match gets a title shot at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's not the case this time. This time the title shot, the match is for the title, which has only happened once before, and it was in the 1992 Royal Rumble,
which I just watched recently.
Oh no way! For a vacant title,
Yeah.
because WWF President Jack Tunney stripped the title from Hulk Hogan. So, but this is interesting because this is, as the announcers like to say, the first time the title has been defended. In the Rumble because of the championship going into it. We'll talk about the Rumble match when we get there.
Before we even get started about the Rumble.
Yeah. Did you watch the pre-show?
No.
Okay.
Missed the pre-show.
They showed the only clip you need to know about the pre-show in the main Rumble, and it was garbage, and we'll get there.
Okay. How did you feel about the build-up to the Rumble?
I thought excusing the actual Rumble match itself, the whole 1 versus all thing, which I think we'll talk about once we get through the rest of the card. Mm-hmm. The only match that had a really solid storyline going into the Rumble was the Divas title.
Yep.
I thought the other matches, while good, did not actually, they were fine feuds, but they didn't have a narrative going into the Rumble.
Yeah. I mean,
whereas I thought the Divas title finally actually had a good narrative going in.
Yeah. It was a little confusing, between Charlotte and Becky, and just going from Becky catching her cheating and then being okay with it to claiming that she'd never seen her cheat, and then finally realizing, it was a bit of a muddled mixture, but
it was Becky's promo on the Raw that acted as the go home Raw for the Rumble, where she demands a title match from Charlotte, and Charlotte's like, "No, I beat you," and Becky goads Ric Flair into accepting a match on Charlotte's behalf.
Which is like the classic, like in wrestling, like you just like you get their manager all fired up.
Well, usually you goad them into it, right?
Yeah.
Like usually Becky should be attacking Charlotte and being like, "Oh, you come out here with your Hall of Fame dad and you think you're so good, but you're not willing, what? Like, what are you afraid?"
Yeah.
But she doesn't do that. She just goes right for Flair and she's like, "Hey, old man." I thought you were meant to be Mr. Fancy Pants. You're going to let your daughter get away with this? And he's like, "You got your match."
And he's so timeless, like which I'll talk about in the match. But I like Ric Flair is just Ric. Just let him be Ric. That's all you need to do.
So in the arena, we've got Michael Cole, JBL, Byron Saxton at ringside, a Spanish announce table, and a French announce table.
I was like, this so like was that at the last pay-per-view? I don't remember a French announce table.
I was like, is this in Montreal? Where is it? Or Orlando?
Usually they have a reason for like the French announce table. Like
more tables to break.
Yeah, they need another announce table. They obviously have 2 announce table spots.
And who is, God, I hate this phrase, the curtain jerker.
The curtain jerker?
Dean Ambrose, current Intercontinental Champion, defending against Kevin Owens in what I, as Lillian Garcia is saying it, am discovering, is a last man standing match.
Oh, really? You didn't know before?
That. No.
Okay.
So last man standing match is you have to basically... It's no disqualification. You can't win by pinfall. You can't win by submission. You beat the tar out of your opponent until they cannot stand back up by the time the referee counts 10.
Yes.
Learned a lot about counting at this Rumble. This match had a lot of counting up to 10. Yeah. There was a lot of counting down from 10 during the Rumble. I love both these guys.
Oh,
and one of the things I love about both of these guys more than most of the other guys on the roster, and I don't blame the wrestlers themselves, I blame sort of how the booking is handled, is that these two wrestle like their characters. Yeah. They don't cut promos in character and then go wrestle like robots. Yeah. They wrestle like their characters. Kevin Owens especially. Oh, God. Not taking anything away from Dean. These guys are both great, but like in the ring, you're like, yeah, that's exactly the same guy cutting the promo. Not like, this is me and this is my character in the promo, and then I wrestle totally normally.
Yeah, then he's doing like backflips and like stuff like for no reason. You know what I mean? Like there's such a like a, for people that don't usually watch wrestling and you're watching a match, and you're like, this is dumb. There's just 2 guys beating the poop out of each other. And some of it looks really real, and some of it looks kind of like weird. And but there is like a flow to a match. Yeah. And like telling a story through a match gets me so excited.
This one was handled really well.
This one was beautiful.
It was also filthy. This was a filthy match. In the best way, this was a filthy match.
Do you think this match should have opened the show like it did?
I think it's a good idea, yeah, because this was really good.
Do you think it's too tough to follow?
Also, yes, but it also had to happen first to give, from a storyline perspective, to give Dean and Kevin the longest time to recover before being in the Rumble.
That's a very good point. I never really thought about that. Yeah. Because, like, you can't just, like, last man standing and then the Royal Rumble. No. And then they come out at, like, number 6 or something.
Just dead. Just get rolled in. Yeah. The match goes to the outside fairly quickly.
Yeah. My first note here is just, wow.
Ambrose throws Owens over the announce table.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Owens, for some reason...
He's the world's biggest troll.
But he loves messing with Michael Cole. Yeah. And he throws him over and he starts grabbing Cole's glasses.
He's like pie facing him in the just in the middle of the match, and Michael Cole doesn't know what to do.
I don't think this is in character. I think it's actual Kevin Owens, because every time he does it, frequently during a match, he'll go over to the ropes, yell at Michael Cole, be like, "Watch this," and then do something. Yeah. And Cole's like, "What are you doing?" What did I do? Yeah. Why are you talking to me?
That's what I love when they blur the line between what they call like a work and a shoot. Like, is it a work? Is it a shoot? Yeah. Like, is it real? Is it not real?
So, like, a work is, in wrestling terminology, is anything that is planned, like something that's booked, like,
Triple H winning the Rumble.
Yeah. Or even like a certain spot, like if someone's like going to do something, but they trip and knock themselves out, or when the ref gets knocked out, that's a work. And the term for a shoot is something that happens naturally and accidentally, and that they just have to sort of go with. Yeah. And around the time of the Attitude Era was very popularized the idea of a worked shoot. When sort of the idea of the wrestling storyline started to break down, they started doing these worked shoots, which was something that they had planned with the intent of the audience believing that it was unplanned and was not intended by the wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
And that happens, more and more these days, especially now that we're in the reality era, Adam.
Oh my God.
The reality era.
Don't get me started. I just hate, why do we have to name everything?
We don't.
Why can't it just be wrestling?
So, okay.
Basically.
They find a kendo stick, start beating each other up with a kendo stick.
Yep.
They demolish the barricade in front of the timekeeper's area.
Yep.
Which is relevant because the timekeeper's area gets hit later and doesn't go down. Yeah. Implying, for storyline purposes, that this was a harder hit.
Yeah.
Which I liked.
Great. Yeah. This is small stuff like that. You know? Like, and I loved, what else did I love? I loved they were able to take the last man standing match, which historically is kind of boring because it's like you knock a guy down and then there's a count to 10. And it's like, but there was such a great, they put enough tension in the 10 count.
Yeah.
They're very good at like keeping the action flowing even while there's like a 10 count going on, which is just two guys standing up. Like how exciting is that?
Yeah.
But these two are so good at what they do. They made that interesting, especially for me. I was like, oh.
I love whenever Owens would get the ref to count. He would, one time he would just go sit on a chair in the ring.
Yeah.
I just he knocked Dean down and then walked away pointing at Dean, just basically to the ref, being like, yo, count this guy. Yeah. I'm done, count this guy. Let's get this over with.
How about when when Owens was in the corner and he just screams, I hate you. Yeah. That was the best. I was like, God, Owens, I love you so much.
When they were rooting around under the ring, did you want them to go for the bottles of Gatorade?
A little bit.
There's like a dozen bottles of Gatorade. And we were like, ooh, Gatorade spot. I've mentioned I love both these guys. Are you basically done with Dean's little bounce back through the second rope?
Oh, you know what I really don't like? I don't mind Dean Ambrose. He's definitely not one of my favorites. I hate the jab into the chop. And he just does it over and over again, like really fast. And it's like...
I was just pleased when he did the bounce back, and then you're like, all right, sure. And then he did it again almost immediately a second time, and Owens was just like, no.
Yeah. That's what I always never understood about wrestling is like, the long choreographed moves that they just let happen.
Owens sets up a table outside the ring near the turnbuckle, sets up a second table, puts it on top of the first table, and then gets ready to throw Ambrose through it. And it's one of those situations where it gets reversed, Ambrose doesn't go through it, and then the tables are left conspicuously off camera for the rest of the match.
I'm glad you noticed that.
Which is really good because then again, we've watched enough wrestling that we can then go, that's going to be the finish, right? Like, they're doing that so that the at-home audience forgets that those tables are there, and probably Owens, because it's usually the person who sets up the stupid table thing that goes through it, is going to go through it and lose, and that'll be the finish to the match. But that didn't make it any less good. What I love is that he's up there, he's trying to throw Dean through the tables. It doesn't work. Ambrose throws a chair at him, and the chair attaches to Owens' head. And this is what I love about Owens. Any other wrestler would have been like, oh, would have flailed and made it look natural that he's getting the chair off. Owens was like, well, the chair's here now. It's going to stay here until it gets dealt with. Yeah. And it was great. He's always stumbling around with the chair on his head.
Yeah, but I'm glad you mentioned the camera work because that's a big part too that I think a lot of people that don't maybe don't notice or just don't care enough or anything, but just like that little stuff, like not showing those double tables for the whole match, and you're like, I forgot about them. Yeah. To be honest, when the first time I watched it, I was like, oh shit, yeah, he set up the tables outside.
And this is the thing, it's people love smart asses like us. I include myself wholly in this camp. Love to rip on WWE producer Kevin Dunn for his choices in how the camera work is done. Yeah. And I agree with that. And honestly, in this Rumble match, in the Rumble across the whole special, I had more problems with camera's work than I have in a while. Oh. I had some really, really bad problems with production and direction and camera angles. Yeah. But simple things like keeping the tables off camera, it works really, really well.
Do you find it hard, like being as someone who does work with cameras and angles and, shoots videos all the time? Do you find that kind of detracts from the viewing experience?
Yeah, I mean,
Can you not like?
in this match, I started getting, it was at the end, at the finish, I started getting like a little queasy because the camera was going down to Owens, up to the referee, back down to Owens, up to the referee, because Kevin Dunn really likes doing fast zooms, whipping around.
Yeah.
It always zooms in on the moves, or it cuts in the middle of a shot, and it's really jarring. And in general, I don't like it.
Yeah. See, that stuff like that, I don't notice. Like
Yeah.
the cuts and stuff like that.
You just, these people are doing these moves, they're taking these bumps, and the impact of them is minimized by cutting to a different angle at the point of impact. Not like cutting away, but cutting to a different angle at the point of impact makes it look much more like a movie, and it really minimizes, that they're actually doing this. And it's
I think I've heard, I think it's like you said, like a movie, like they do that in a lot of movies, like
Yeah.
they'll cut away, right?
Because in a movie, you're not actually hitting the other actors.
Yeah.
But here, they're doing these things.
Yeah.
Anyway, once the chair gets off Owens' head, there's a 10 count, which Owens manages to get by rolling out of the ring.
Yeah.
Which I love. It's a very drunk maneuver
Yeah.
where it's like, no, I'm up, rolling
I'm
out
okay.
and just
Yeah.
letting your feet touch the ground.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great. Dean sets up a table, lays Owens on it, and does an elbow drop from the top turnbuckle
Yep.
in the third best table spot of the match,
Yeah.
I think. This would be followed by what I think is the best table spot in the match, where they set up another table in the ring. Ambrose goes up to throw Owens through, to suplex Owens
Yeah.
through it, and Owens picks Dean up, turns him around mid-air, and power bombs him
It's
through
like,
it.
I don't even know
It was
how
a
to...
really smoothly done
I don't know how
table
to
spot.
describe the move, but he did it too to Cena in one of their... I don't know if he did it in every match they had, but it's like that weird, like the guy's in front of him, and he
Yeah.
like kind of twists him in midair kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
It was really, really good.
Spot.
And then Owens laboriously sets up a dumb thing. He sets up 4 chairs into a little bed, and then puts another chair on it, and lays Dean down on the bed of chairs, and then goes up on the turnbuckle to presumably
Moonsault or something?
moonsault or
Yeah.
something.
He's
do
like,
some
"You
sort
did
of
this." He's
some sort of
yelling.
flying maneuver.
Yeah.
But of course, it is the turnbuckle in front of the tables that were set up earlier. Yeah. Dean manages to get up, shoves Owens over. He goes through the tables, and
Count of 10.
Count of 10. Dean Ambrose retains.
Yep.
This was a sweet match.
It was great.
Really good opening.
That's like that'll be the bar that every match is kind of compared to for the rest of the year.
I think it was really good.
Yeah. Do you think you care more about the Intercontinental title now than maybe you did 2 years ago?
Than 2 years ago, definitely.
Yeah.
They've been really trying to make the Intercontinental title belt mean something again, and they've had different people who have been more successful than others. When Ryback had the belt briefly, and it was I think Ryback could have done better with it, except it was now you have to defend against Miz and The Big Show. And it was that's not a feud anyone cares about, though. Honestly, it should have been Ryback versus just Miz, because Miz can pull heat. Miz is a great heel.
Yeah.
And I actually quite enjoyed his run as champion when he was heavyweight champ.
I missed that.
I-
that was that area that I missed, right?
I think he did a great job, but that was just a death knell for Ryback's run at it. And
well, it's like
the whole they did a bit where Barrett was champ and he was defending against Ziggler and Luke Harper and Truth and
leading up to WrestleMania last year.
yeah, and it completely drew the spotlight away from the champion.
Yeah.
Right? It put the spotlight on everyone other than the champion, and that was bad. But yeah, they're doing a much better job with the Intercontinental belt than they did a while ago. Second match. Tag team title championship, pardon me. The New Day defending against Jimmy and Jay, the Usos. So let's first of all establish that New Day rocks.
Yes.
New Day rocks.
New Day are probably the best thing on TV. On WWE.
How they made such an amazing recovery after being saddled with the worst gimmick in the world.
Yeah.
So for those who are unaware, these are 3 very talented guys who have had different lengths of careers in the WWE and out the WWE. and they were like, well, we don't have anything for you guys, so we're going to put the three of you into a 3-person stable, and we're going to call you the New Day, and you're going to be super power of positivity televangelists.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're going to make the 3 black guys be like gospel televangelists. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And someone let them have a mic one day, and they just went
bless 'em.
off.
Yeah.
And you can tell, this is amazing actually, you can tell that Vince has no idea why this works. Because on TV 2 weeks ago, he was introducing the New Day, and he's like, let's all give a hallelujah to the New Day. And it's like, Vince, that's not their gimmick anymore. Like, they finally replaced their Titantron. They got rid of, they kept the music, but they got rid of like the gospel choir.
Yeah, was the Titantron at the Royal Rumble their new one?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it felt new because they had like little cutesy drawings.
It
like
debuted
unicorns.
like 2 weeks prior, I think, or something like that. Yeah. The New Day is great. They've basically, if you aren't familiar with them, all you need to know is that they've said they want to be the most gifable tag team ever.
Yeah.
Like, they are the internet.
Yeah, they're memes. They're meme the tag team.
They knocked a guy out of the ring once and ran. And while he's lying prone outside the ring, Big E runs over to his shoes and it's like, "What are those?" Like, while it's one of the luchador, or no, one of the Los Matadores was like lying outside the ring, and Big E's like, "What are those?" And the cameraman's like, "I don't get this.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?"
Yeah, they just like, it's amazing what will happen, especially with like the talent that they have, is like just, and you can tell that they're having so much fun.
Oh my God.
Like they
Wouldn't
just,
you?
they're
I'd have a blast
oh my
doing this.
God, they're just like, here's some, take this and just kind of, do something with it. You know, here's some guidelines.
They should do that more.
Yeah, I can understand their hesitancy because, being a publicly shared company.
Yeah, but like, work with your talent more.
Yeah.
Don't just be like, this is you, here's your script.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you really got to work with, and yeah, so Big E, or Big E Langston, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods,
Who also has a pretty good show on YouTube.
AKA Austin Creed on Up, Up, Down, Down.
Yeah.
Are phenomenal. Largely speaking, Xavier stays outside the ring and just yells at people, and it's the best.
Oh, he's like, I even have written down here,
mouth on that
Xavier
guy.
Woods is great.
Yeah.
And the part where, skip ahead in the match a little bit, where he has his trombone,
Francesca 2.
Yes. The crowd's like chanting Francesca.
Play Francesca.
And he
Play
goes to do
Francesca.
it, and he's just like, no.
And he just puts the puts the trombone on the ground. Is like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You're not worthy. Of it.
Just,
Amazing heel maneuver.
oh my God.
So it's the New Day. We
Yeah.
love them. They're fantastic. Against the tag team that won the Slammy of the Year for Best Tag Team somehow, despite one of them being injured for 8 months.
Yeah.
Jimmy and Jay, the Usos, whose shirts, the back of their shirts say, "Play hard in the paint."
Yeah. I don't understand.
And I don't know what that means. Is it
Like-
because they have face paint?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't, because the Usos are like, they're great, but they're so boring.
Here's a problem I have almost immediately with the Usos in this match. Left Uso is in the ring, is in the ring with Kofi. Dumps him out of the ring, right?
Yeah.
He throws him out of the ring towards the entrance ramp.
Yeah.
And right Uso, who's standing on the apron, jumps down and clotheslines him.
Yeah.
These guys are meant to be the faces.
Yeah.
These are meant to be the good guys in this match. That is a bad guy move.
Yeah.
Right? Kofi gets thrown out of the ring and then like just demolished by the other guy while the ref isn't looking. And it's like, wait, that's a bad guy move.
Yeah.
These are basic rules.
That's what I dislike about maybe today's era. It's like there's too many in-betweeners. Like I love like clear-cut bad guys, clear-cut like guys that are actually bad. Not the guys
bad with not just being like death to America.
Yeah. Like Kevin Owens.
Yeah,
like he still
Kevin
gets some
Owens is
cheers,
phenomenal.
but he is like the classic heel that I love.
Such a dick.
Yeah, he's great, and he always
Again, I told Kathleen, I was like, this guy's Canadian. He's from Northern Ontario, and she was like, oh yeah, no yeah. I was like, what? She's like, he looks like a Northern Canadian drug dealer. And I was like, oh, yeah. He does, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
it fits.
Yeah.
But yeah, like doing stuff like that, like, I don't know. Fans are smart enough these days that we notice stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah.
why is left Uso or right Uso or
Why is he clotheslining him when the ref isn't looking? That's like such a heel
Yeah.
move. Still on the outside, later in the match, left Uso kicks Big E into the timekeeper's area,
Yep.
and the barricade doesn't break.
Yep.
So it wasn't as hard of a hit as when Owens got put through it earlier. Ring psychology.
Yes.
Also, while
Little
he's standing there, Xavier does get a little bit of offense, because this is the thing. Your partner who's not in the match attacking someone outside. This is a heel move.
Yeah.
Also, it's an amazing DDT where he runs up and around the barricade and down. It's such a good move.
Yeah.
He's a really good wrestler. Like, the fact that he only ever talks, I think, might make people forget that he's a super good wrestler.
Yeah.
He was in TNA as Consequences Creed,
I don't think I ever saw him doing
which was
that.
a sort of like a Apollo Creed reference. Like, he was very much kind of meant to be like a, invoke the idea of Apollo Creed from Rocky.
Yeah.
And he had a tag team run with Jay Lethal as the tag team.
Yeah.
Lethal Consequences.
Oh, okay.
And with R-Truth.
Oh, R-Truth was in TNA?
Yeah.
God, who
As
wasn't in TNA?
Truth or Consequences.
Jesus. This stuff writes itself. This is great.
Kofi gets a super kick from left Uso at one point because apparently everyone super kicks now.
Oh, yeah. Like, super kicks are all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Until Shawn Michaels left, no one else could do a super kick, and now everyone's doing a super
now everyone's like,
kick. Ziggler was the
game?
first
fair
first one to use them. Ziggler also warms up the band a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah. Which some people don't like that he does that.
Yeah, I was actually listening to...
That's what's called on Wikipedia when it lists their move. That's what's listed in parentheticals as with theatrics.
I've never looked at wrestling
It's
Wikipedia
great.
before.
The people's elbow, standing elbow drop with theatrics.
That's amazing.
It's like
That just
yeah,
made my
that
day.
adds up.
Yeah.
Big E with a splash. His splash was amazing.
Yeah. He gets a lot of height and he's a big dude.
He's huge.
How big are Big E's legs?
He's
He's
just
huge.
huge
He's
all
just a-
over.
Yeah,
He's got that tricep meat.
that was
They
great.
did a thing a while ago where Xavier was just talking about Big E's tricep meat.
Yeah.
After the splash, Big E picks up the guy and licks his hand and starts slapping his chest in time to
the
New Day Rocks chant, which was good.
A rhythmic beating.
Right Uso with a DX crotch chop for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was
really
there.
random.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But I mean, like, to be
he-
fair,
he does manage to Samoan drop Big E, which is pretty impressive.
yeah, the crowd was booing the Usos out of the building. They were eating up everything the New Day did.
Can I tell you my most impressive thing from this match? I thought
Yeah.
was Big E spearing the Uso through the ropes.
Oh, yeah.
He speared him through the ropes to the outside.
Yeah.
That's like painful,
Yeah.
and it was beautifully executed. He's a big guy. He doesn't have a lot of tolerance to fit through the ropes, right? We're not talking like when Kalisto does it.
Yeah.
Like, he's a big dude. There's a rope break from Kofi, and there's a couple times tonight where there's rope breaks, and the refs are on it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I like that. I like that they're bringing in the like, no, guys, there are actually rules.
Yeah.
In this, like, in these matches.
Yeah.
And one of the rules is if your hand or feet or a part of your body is under the ropes, then they have to break their pin.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, hey, rope break. Neat. But it wasn't like, oh my God, they managed to get to the ropes. It was like, oh, nope, it's a rope break.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that means that you have to stop.
Yeah.
Now you have to stop.
I love the, there was one point where one of the Usos, like, hit a big, I can't remember what he did, hit a move on Kofi. Kofi goes down, and he, like, falls out of the ring, and Big E gets down, rolls Kofi back into the ring, and tags himself in,
Yes.
and then attacks the Uso before he gets to make the hot tag, they call it, like the tag to his partner who's been resting for so
Yeah.
long. I thought that was just, I don't know, I just stuff like that.
There was that's how the match ended, with a secret tag.
Yeah.
With Big E jumping up, tagging Kofi, where the Uso couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So Uso's beating up Kofi, who is not the legal man, because the ref saw it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. This is something that impresses me, is knowing spots like this have to happen. It's like the Uso in the ring has to make sure that he feasibly can't see that Big E has tagged in.
Yeah.
The ref has to remember that he has to be somewhere where he can see it and do his like arm maneuver to be like, that was a tag.
Yeah.
Again, without the Usos
seeing
seeing that the ref has seen it.
Yeah.
And everyone has to be in the right position at the right time, and I think it's really
I
impressive.
wrote here, I love the finish.
The
Like,
finish,
it was
Big
great.
E catches left Uso midair,
Yeah.
catches him midair, does his finisher, the big ending,
Yeah.
and which is an over-the-shoulder facebuster, if you're curious.
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 3, the New Day retains. It was a really good finish.
Oh, yeah.
But
the
yeah,
match was like,
the match was fine.
okay. I think it was more just like New Day antics
Yeah.
that made it so entertaining.
Yeah.
Which, depending on who you ask, might be a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it's
great.
I think it must always be a good
Yeah,
thing.
like it's just let them. This is what happens when you let people do like stuff that brings out their personality,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just let them have free reign, and that's the kind of stuff. And there's still little things they're doing, like rolling Kofi back in and making the
Yeah.
tag himself, and some of the little like heelish things that they're doing throughout the match. Like it's just, I think they're great.
Then we get a brief promo from the Wyatts backstage, just sort of teasing that they're going to be, trying to
They
dominate
make a
the Rumble.
4 horsemen thing, right? They're like, we are war, famine, and
Yeah.
Pestilence.
Which one's War? Probably Strowman. Huh?
Strowman,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. And then it's the match for the U.S. title, the United States Championship. Alberto Del Rio defending against Kalisto, who is one half of the tag team Lucha Dragons. The other half, Sin Cara, is out injured, which is a phrase that might sound familiar if you're a fan of wrestling for a while. This is a different guy, though.
Yeah.
The very injury-prone Sin Cara is a different wrestler,
he was a nightmare.
and
apparently.
he's actually out of the company. He's back with AAA. He's now wrestling under the name like
Mysticize.
There's lots of Zs.
Yeah.
And the new Sin Cara is portrayed by
I have no
Hunico.
idea.
It's Hunico, I believe.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because Primo and Epico are Los Matadores.
Yeah.
And but unfortunately, he suffered an injury recently, so Kalisto's on his own. And people were like, "Man, Kalisto's really good. We should put him in a singles feud," and it's working out pretty well for him. It's he's really impressive. Something I want to say though, first of all, so Kalisto is basically at this point Rey Mysterio Jr.
Yeah.
He's definitely being positioned as like the next Rey Mysterio. Alberto Del Rio looks great.
Oh my God! When he first came back, I was like, he's so jacked. Like,
Yeah, like when he was around the first time, he was muscular but kind of doughy.
Yeah.
Like he was clearly very strong, but he is cut
yeah.
and imposing.
Yeah.
And seems to be having a lot more fun with it, actually.
I think so,
In,
yeah.
in an interview recently, he said that like the first time he went in with a big head of steam and was sort of like, I know how wrestling works because he's a multi-year veteran of the sport, and he's like, I know how this is all going to work, and didn't really gel, had some backstage disagreements in the WWE, left, came back, presumably got more money, good for him, and then is like just sort of being chill with it, and he's like, this is great. And he apparently is like really helping Kalisto out backstage. He said in the same way that Ray helped him when he joined.
Oh, really?
company,
Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of the guys who come in from like the indies, I guess, who have been wrestling for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And they either conform to the system, which is kind of what you have to do.
Yeah, you sort of have
or
to.
they're just like, I know what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
they never last.
So the video package that precedes the match includes a clip of the League of Nations literally bullying Kalisto like a small child in the schoolyard. Yeah. League of Nations, Alberto Del Rio, Sheamus, Rusev, and Wade Barrett, who this is the only time you will see Wade Barrett for this entire event.
Yeah.
Wade Barrett.
The guy has just disappeared. I don't know what happened, but
They if there's a promo for the League of Nations, they don't let him talk.
Yeah.
He's I feel bad. I love Wade Barrett. I think
my
he needs a
God.
better break, but apparently the League of Nations is not that break.
I kind of like the spot at the beginning when they were. I love it when the crowd counts in Spanish when they do the 10 punches in the corner. And
That's good. I like that.
Kalisto just he just flipped himself up and just kicked Del Rio in the butt, knocked him over top.
Del Rio starts this match wrestling like an asshole, and I love it. He's like, this guy's not worth my time. As a preface to this, what happened was Kalisto beat him for the U.S. title like a week ago on Raw. It was sort of like a out of nowhere big surprise, massive upset match. And then 3 days later on Thursday night SmackDown, Del Rio would win the title back, and it would then set this up as.
How do you feel about situations like that? Like hot-shotting the title back and forth? kind of thing. Because I mean,
They
like,
haven't done it in a really long time. And
true.
I'm kind of okay with it in this situation because I think they did the match with Del Rio and Kalisto, and then they were like, that was a really good match. Like, it was a really entertaining match. Mm-hmm. And Kalisto deserves to have that moment on something other than Raw.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like they had him drop it back to Del Rio so that he could have a bigger, like a more impressive, a less of a out of nowhere upset victory on a bigger stage. Yeah. At least I want to believe that that's what happened. And so I went into the match hoping that Kalisto would come out victorious because it would made more sense narratively.
These two, I was like,
they put on a good show.
I thought it was okay. Like, I don't know, these two.
There were one or two missteps, definitely.
There's like, I'm not like, and I don't want to criticize it too harshly, but Del Rio doesn't really excite me. Like, he looks great.
I like him better now than I did before.
I think he's a good wrestler, but that's about it.
Pro
like,
tip, don't get on the turnbuckle if you're facing Del Rio.
Yeah.
His enziguris are amazing.
Yeah.
That's a term for when you kick someone in the head. Yeah. But anytime someone gets up on the turnbuckle, he just bounces off the middle rope and clocks them.
And he gets, for some reason, because they slap their thigh for like effect, right, when they kick. And for some reason, Del Rio's slaps are always like just super crisp. Mm-hmm. It's like,
Yeah, really loud. There's a point where he throws Kalisto under the bottom rope, and he just sort of like skips. And just lands on his face.
I didn't realize.
How do you practice that move?
I don't know, man.
Crash mats, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But I never realized how small Kalisto is.
He's a really tiny guy.
He's a really small guy.
Yeah.
Which I don't have a problem with.
No.
I know how a lot of people feel like
it's
like
unrealistic.
It's like
no, whatever.
It's wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, I've never bought into like
it's a cartoon.
Yeah. I've never bought into like someone saying like, well, Kalisto shouldn't win because he's small.
Yeah,
it's like no. I've never bought into that whenever I've watched throughout my whole life.
Del Rio did this move at one point, sort of like a code breaker, except it was with Kalisto facing the other way. Like, Jericho's code breaker, which is like a backstabber from the front. Yeah. It was anyway. He caught Kalisto and brought him down on his knees. I don't know what the move was, but it looked really painful.
Yeah.
It looked really, really good. There were two pretty bad whiffs. Mm-hmm. There was like a setup that looked like it was going to be for something big, and Kalisto missed his corkscrew thing at one point. Yeah. And Cole completely miscalled something. Kalisto was coming off the ropes, and Del Rio jumps and kicks him in the thighs.
Yeah.
And Cole thought that it was Del Rio's knees to Kalisto's chest.
Oh, yeah!
And then they do the replay, and Cole's like, and you see the knees...
Watch this impact. He's right.
He just like cuts himself off mid-sentence because he realizes he's wrong.
Yeah.
Which is it was just sort of funny.
Yeah.
Honestly, my biggest problem with Del Rio's moveset is his super contrived turnbuckle spot when the other guy is in what is called is called in the business the Tree of Woe.
Which is
I don't know why they call it that.
I don't know, but I'm glad somebody named it that.
The reason it's contrived is because the only way it works is if the person has their torso perpendicular to their thighs so that then when Del Rio steps on them, they can fall away.
Yeah.
But to do that, they have to be holding themselves up in that position.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I hate this thing. But then Del Rio went for it, and Kalisto was like, wait, I can just let go and dodge out of the way. And I'm like... Finally, someone realized that you are helping them do that.
Yeah.
I mean, everything in wrestling involves the two people working together, especially anytime you're throwing someone. Like anytime you're picking someone up or throwing them, they're jumping into that move. You have to work together to do it. But this one takes the suspension of disbelief away from me. It looks contrived.
Yeah, it's like, hey, stay there, I'm going to stomp on you, okay? And it's like, okay, I'm ready. It's like, just let me hold myself up.
So from a storytelling perspective, throughout the course of this match, I really enjoyed this about it's hard to get a read on Kalisto because of the mask and everything, but I loved about Del Rio, I mentioned at the beginning, he starts the match like an asshole. He's like, this guy is beneath me, he loves throwing around Spanish
They
insults.
even do it on a commentary where JBL's like, oh, I had a talk with Del Rio earlier. How much we love beating up little guys because he
has that big Rey Mysterio feud. Yeah. And then over the course of the match, being unable to take it home and put Kalisto out is making Del Rio visibly more frustrated.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, he's super pissed off. Like, he starts out being like, whatever, you know, I'm not even taking him seriously. And at the end, he's like getting really annoyed with himself, which I liked.
Yeah.
To the point where he pulls the pad off of one of the turnbuckles, which the ref admonishes him for, though not enough to go.
I never understood, like, why is that not just like a disqualification?
Right?
Because it's like, it's the intent, right?
Uh-huh.
Because it's like, why don't they just do it every match?
Well, usually what happens is they take the turnbuckle pad off and throw it down, and then the ref is like, oh, you, and goes and gets the pad and reattaches it, and while the ref is distracted, then the heel does something nasty.
Yeah.
But he took the pad off and threw it like way out of the ring, and the guy was like, hey now,
you better stop,
naughty man.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened, and what ended up, is what usually ends up happening in these situations, is that Del Rio ends up taking a forehead into the exposed chain thing on the turnbuckle, which was a weak hit, actually. It was not a good spot. Didn't look really convincing. But Kalisto takes it home. I thought it was actually, despite the 2 blown spots and the weak turnbuckle hit, I thought it was a solid match.
I thought it was okay. I'm just not invested.
I wasn't invested either. Like I said, the only like storyline for one of the undercard matches coming into this was the Divas title. Like, the actual storyline here was John Cena was like, you should fight Kalisto. And Del Rio went, all right. And Kalisto won and then lost again, and then this was a rematch.
Yeah.
So, also JBL burying Kalisto on commentary, being like, 2-time champ. I never thought I'd hear Kalisto would be a 2-time champ. Like, come on, JBL, don't be such a dick.
Yeah.
Then we go to the round table, the expert round table. With Renee Young and 3 other people I don't care about.
Jerry Lawler yelling about mosquitoes.
Well, because JBL called Kalisto the mosquito. I don't think anyone caught that, though.
I caught it, but I was like, it makes him look like an idiot. Like, I just like...
Jerry Lawler looks like a lizard. He looks like he's turning into a lizard man.
Yeah.
But anyway, they do a recap of the Fatal 4-Way, because in the kickoff show, I mentioned they had a Fatal 4-Way tag team match. First tag team to get a pin. Their tag team gets 2 spots in the Rumble. And the teams were the Dudley Boys versus Mark Henry and Jack Swagger versus the Ascension versus, I feel so bad for these two, Darren Young and Damian Sandow.
Damian Sandow,
biggest missed opportunity,
was the most over person on the roster.
After Mania.
Oh, yeah. Like,
when he finally stood up to The Miz during the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. And then... they're like, great, that's done with.
See you later, Miz.
You'll never see Sandow on TV again.
Yeah. It's like...
it was so weird.
It was like the New Day situation, but the New Day have been given time to run with it, right?
Yeah. They are showing the ending of that match.
Yeah.
And it's a bad ending.
Yeah,
it's a super sloppy, like, not good ending. And I'm like, why are you showing us this? This is, you could have just said who won. You didn't have to show the ending to this match.
One of the people that I work with was like, from like pretty much minute 1 onwards, the whole match was just, I didn't watch it, but they just said it was just a mess. Like, which I feel bad for everybody involved. It's like, they were probably told that day. Probably. Like, oh, hey, you guys are on the pre-show. Like, I don't know, figure it out.
Yeah. Then we get a backstage scene with Stephanie McMahon and Paul Heyman.
This is great.
I've been getting less and less patient with seeing Stephanie's character on screen.
Really?
Week to week. Yeah, it's just I think the Authority has well overstayed their welcome as a narrative device.
Yeah.
And this is what I would love. A couple weeks ago, SmackDown premiered on USA.
Yep.
And they were running these ads during Raw, or just all over on USA. And there was one ad that was Triple H and Steph in an office being these like irritated bosses with various wrestlers coming in and being weird at them, right? Like,
send them in?
You should let me make the announcement because it sounds way better in a British accent.
Next.
I haven't worked out the details yet, but it involves setting something on fire.
Next.
I'll get it tattooed on my back.
I wrote a song. Gordasta.
So peep this. Xavier is going to jump out of an airplane holding a giant banner.
I'm not sure that's safe.
Oh, no.
Next.
We write it in the stars.
That is what I want to see out of Triple H and Steph, right?
Yeah.
This, like, that they are the put upon authority figures that are just trying to run a wrestling show.
Yeah.
They're just trying to make this all work, and their cast is a bunch of egos and idiots and weirdos and people, and they're just like, they're trying to hold the ship together.
Yeah.
This, like, 1 week they're nice, 1 week they're not. Like, Steph slaps the crap out of a cameraman, but then comes out and talks about how we all need to fight cancer.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Or like, we need to stop bullying people.
Yeah, and it's just, it's... I understand the necessity or the idea of having the bad guy authority figure, but I also understand that, like, they're also sort of the forward spokesman for the company. But I think they got to pick a lane.
Yeah, dude.
And honestly, I would just love it if they were goofy, right? If they were just like, not even goofy. They don't have to be goofy. They're basically trying to be the straight man. I want to see them, from a comedy perspective, be the straight man in this like roster of lunatics. And they're like, oh my God, guys, we have to put a show together. Like I got the most of this out of when Stephen Amell demanded the match at SummerSlam with Stardust.
Yeah.
And Triple H is like, no, you don't get to do that. I'm not putting like a celebrity who's never wrestled into my ring. That's insane.
Yeah.
No. And he's like, I'll sign your forms or whatever. And, you know, Triple H is like, okay, fine. Except he was doing it, he got more Triple H-y over this. So he's like, if you want to step in my ring, you have at it. You know, it's like,
the game.
On your head, beat it, right? And he could have just been like, all right, fine, idiot, go for it, right? That's what I want to see out of more of them. But I love how Steph is grossed out by Paul Heyman.
So good.
When Paul Heyman's like, I can see, you know, I can see that this joy coming out of all of your pores. And she's just like, God, don't talk about my pores. Like, Paul's such a creepy old man.
Yeah. It's great. And you can tell that I like to think that that's how they would talk in real life.
Yeah.
You know? Like, she's like legitimately creeped out by Paul Heyman.
I'd believe it.
And Paul Heyman's like this weird...
And he would be more creepy just to
poke her,
Yeah.
you know, because Paul Heyman is like famously known for just
jabbing.
Hey,
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Anyway, they talk about Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
It's less relevant. It'll come up later. And then last match before the Rumble for the Divas title, Charlotte versus Becky. We talked a bit about the lead up to this already.
Yeah.
Becky cutting the promo on Rick because Rick has been interfering in their matches, because of course he does, because it's Ric Flair. And the thing is, it's like, why is Ric Flair on TV every week with his daughter? Outside of storyline, because it's Ric Flair and he loves the spotlight and he loves the paycheck, and of course he would want to be involved on Monday Night Raw every week.
Yeah.
In storyline, same reason, and it totally works.
Yeah,
right?
it's great.
That's his character,
Yeah.
right? Like, Ric Flair is that guy.
Yeah. He'll always, I don't think he can even turn it off. Like, there's no off
No, I don't
switch.
think so
It's
either.
just like, you are Ric Flair all the time.
Yeah. This is a man who got naked and elbow dropped his own clothes in the ring just because he was angry at something.
Yeah. It's just,
By the way, if you haven't seen it, this is a complete unrelated aside.
Yeah.
Go and look up. There was a time when Ric Flair was still working with TNA.
yeah.
And Jay Lethal is at the top of the ramp impersonating Ric Flair.
I heard about this.
He's cutting a promo as Ric Flair.
To Ric Flair?
And Ric Flair's in the ring. Being like, you don't get to talk like that. And they're just yelling back and forth. It's like a mirror. And it's so funny.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up.
Anyway, Becky comes in wearing Pinterest the costume.
Yeah. Like, what? I was like, I wrote, what's with the Bloodborne hat? Like, she took it off immediately, too. She was like, it was like someone was like, you got to wear this. It'll make you look cool.
I mean,
and
she's always
like,
been
hat,
sort of steampunky. Like, her Titantron thing has gears going on and, like, the steam and stuff.
Yeah.
But this was, like, next level, like, steampunk.
Yeah, and it was like, but it was weird, like, way too big for her head kind of thing. And it was just like, I never understood, but she just took it off immediately, which I found weird. I thought, like, wow, somebody probably made her wear it or some, I don't know. Maybe she wanted to wear the goggles like she usually wears.
Yeah. Okay. This was probably the best main roster Divas match in a long time.
Oh yeah, like since they had the Revolution,
Yeah.
which was not a revolution. It was
You notice what they've done though, rather than be like Divas Revolution #Divas Revolution, and which was just bringing up Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha from NXT.
yeah.
And inserting them into the existing mire of the main roster Divas storyline.
Yeah.
What they've done now is they've basically been like, all right, we've got all these other divas that are on the cast of Total Divas, and they're going to have really garbage short matches and infighting. And then we're going to have the 3 women from NXT, and they're going to do the real wrestling.
Yeah.
It's really kind of sad because
It's sad too because, like, God, they from NXT they put on the best wrestling I've probably seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we could go on forever about, you know, Sasha Bailey from
Yep.
NXT Brooklyn,
Yep.
or Sasha Bailey from the 30-minute Iron Woman match.
yeah, those were both amazing.
Oh, and it's just like
and this match is not as good as those by far, but this is so shitty that we have to frame it in
Yeah.
this lens, but this is the best main roster women's match they've had in a very long time.
it
There's
actually-
mat wrestling, there's chain wrestling,
there's storytelling.
Yeah.
There's we'll get into it more, but it is a perfect example of why this division can work. And the crowd was into it.
Yeah,
the crowd
they were
was
into
so
it.
into it.
Yeah.
And it's just like there was like they weren't that active in the Kalisto Del Rio match, and then this match comes on, and the crowd just wakes up. And it's like, wow, they care about Becky,
Yeah.
and they hate Charlotte.
Yeah.
Like, it's very obvious. There's a line,
Yep.
and they're just like,
It's perfect.
she's the bad girl, there's the good girl, let's do this. We really want to see Becky win.
And the promo package, Charlotte's like, Becky says she's the victim, but she's not. I'm the victim. And I'm like, you don't know what a victim means. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, it's just...
In the middle of all that mat chain wrestling, which I really enjoyed, in the middle of all of that, Ric Flair with the sexual assault.
Yeah, what is with that? Like, can we get away with that? Look, they can't bleed in a match, but you can just randomly kiss a girl for no reason without her consent?
Ric Flair just grabs Becky
Yeah.
and like, it looks like deep tongue.
Oh, yeah,
And
like-
I guess that's considered a non-aggressive action because the ref doesn't end the match.
Yeah.
Because normally, like if someone attacks one of the wrestlers in the
Yeah.
match is over, right?
Yeah.
This, I guess, was not a problem because the ref saw it.
Yeah.
And then Michael Cole does such a shitty thing from like an improv perspective.
Yeah.
Because he's like, that's awful. Let's hear you defend that, JBL. And the reason that's shitty is because then JBL has to say something.
Yeah, he has to do it. Like,
He has to comment on it
Yeah.
in some way to defend it.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, Ric Flair's always said he's a kiss stealer. I don't know what you're so surprised about, Michael.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not okay, JBL. Cole, you should not have made JBL. You should not have put him in a position where his character has to defend that.
Yeah.
It was a bad idea. Anyway,
It's like, yeah, you don't push people in the corners. Like, it's like, you can't give them no way out, you know? You can say how awful it is, and if he wants to comment on it.
yeah.
I did laugh at Ric Flair's reaction.
He just
After he
goes,
kissed her,
"Woo,"
he's like,
and
woo! And he does
starts
the,
running around. He's
what
like,
is this?
I don't know.
I don't know what this is,
Just like
but I was
hitting
like,
himself.
but also the spot where Charlotte was hiding behind Rick, and then she pushed her aside to do the kick, which they have done before.
Yeah.
And she dodged it. I just thought it was nice. It's like, oh, she didn't fall for it again. Like, she doesn't look like an idiot.
They did that. She did that rolling neck move where she was almost going for the Three Amigos, but with grabbing onto Becky's head. She had Becky in like a leg.
Yeah.
Like her legs were locked around her neck.
Yeah.
And like flipped her twice. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
There was also a neck breaker from the turnbuckle, which was a good move. Becky's weird shin thing starts coming off at one point.
Yeah, she was having some problems with her boots.
Not only does everyone super kick now, everyone also uses the spear. So Charlotte spears.
Don't get me.
Becky.
Yeah, I was going to get into the spear, but I'm just like, I'm so tired of this. Everybody does it, you know?
Becky has Charlotte in the disarmer, which is her submission move,
Yeah.
like the arm bar. And Charlotte stands up and just picks her up and is like, wham. It was good.
Yeah.
And then complete jacket interference
Yeah.
from Ric Flair.
Isn't that a disqualification?
Apparently not.
When I was watching, I was like, what world do we live in? We live in a world where they catch rope breaks right away, but Ric Flair can throw his jacket on someone's head? And how would that even stop? You know what? And even at the same time, I was like, how does that stop her from her submission?
I don't
Just
know. Because she stopped.
Yeah.
Because she was like,
She's like, oh no, it's dark. Like, I don't know. Maybe she has a deep-seated fear of darkness.
I mean, it was a solid heel victory, I guess,
Yeah.
but it was a little weird. I'm bummed that Becky didn't win because it sort of felt like
I'm
it
okay
would
with
make sense from the storyline perspective, but I was like, okay. And then, by God, that's Sasha's music.
Yeah, the crowd pops huge.
Wait just a minute. The boss is in the house.
This might be the biggest pop of the night.
Yeah,
Which is going to be weird considering what happens later.
Yeah.
But it might have been. I wasn't listening with headphones. I was just using my computer speakers.
Yeah.
So I couldn't
I
really
had
tell.
headphones on, so I'm not sure if it sounded louder to me, but it was like Sasha's music hits and the crowd just bang. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I get goosebumps just
was
thinking
great.
about it.
I love it when she's walking towards the ring and just starts like dropping her brass knuckles.
Yeah.
Sasha dumps Becky out of the ring and yells at her, "This is my spotlight,
Yeah.
Becky." After which point, and I'm bummed about this, Becky is completely ignored by the cameras.
Yeah.
Because she was selling. She was sitting there. She was crying. Like she was like she
lost. She was upset.
Yeah, she was selling the emotion of this, and they're just sort of like, "You're not part of this anymore."
Yeah.
And I hope that she's not out of the feud now.
Yeah,
I
I
think
hope
she's
not.
still involved, but anyway. So then Sasha and Charlotte are like, "Yay, we're the bad girls from NXT. All right, let's do our cool move together. Yeah, secret handshake. Okay."
Only two of them have special rings. Yeah.
And then Charlotte's about to leave the ring, and Sasha beats the crap out of her,
Yeah.
and then picks up the belt and is like, "I want the belt."
Oh, but then Charlotte no-sells the bank statement, like gets up immediately.
Well, that's not the worst thing that happened. The worst thing about that was Michael Cole saying,
Sasha Banks making a statement with a bank statement.
and it's like, no, I know what you're trying to do, Cole, but it sounds stupid. It sounds dumb.
You ever just want to just do this? Like,
Massive, yeah, just
oh my God.
pinch the bridge of your nose.
Please, Cole, stop. Like, yeah. But
And, it sounds like they've dropped the whole teams
Yeah.
thing finally. Sasha can shed the dead weight of Team Bad with Tamina and Naomi, and just be Sasha Banks and be the boss and be awesome.
like, I just don't understand where you have these talents and Charlotte and Becky, but more so Sasha, who is just like this entity that you have, and it's like, use it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, and maybe they were saving her because she hasn't been on TV for weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were saving her for this because the pop was huge. Maybe
Massive
that was,
pop.
but I don't know. There's something about Sasha that just like I love her. I think she's great.
Yeah.
She's a good wrestler. I think she has it all, and I'm so hoping that they just let her and those other two I don't even want to say divas. I want to say women. I hate the divas.
What I would like is actually for them to. This is a little bit into sort of the fantasy booking territory.
Yeah.
I would like them to. People are like they should. Calling them divas is dumb. They should bring back the women's title and replace it and get that. The divas title looks like a tramp stamp. They should bring back the women's title. In addition, they should let the cast of Total Divas fight over the Divas title and have that be storyline for episodes of Total Divas, because that show does well for the E and good for them.
Yeah.
And then have the women's title for people like Becky, Sasha, and Charlotte,
Yeah.
and Paige.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Natalia, honestly. But Natalia,
Soon
apparently
Bailey
does a really good job on Total Divas as a massive bitch.
Really?
Apparently.
I've never watched an episode.
I haven't watched it either, but apparently her character on Total Divas is just thunder bitch. And apparently she's really, really good at it.
That's
so
awesome.
It's like, because again, Total Divas is a complete work. It's
Yeah,
totally
it's just
fiction.
it's just
Totally fiction.
They just need to let the women wrestle. They've proven they can.
Yeah.
And it's just infuriating for me as a fan when, admittedly, before, like during the Attitude Era and everything, when women were allowed to wrestle, but it was never really taken that seriously.
Well, it was definitely not taken seriously
No.
because they were.
Outside of like Trish and Lita.
Yeah, but I mean, even Trish was like. Trish came into being a good wrestler, but
Yeah.
Trish did not start that way.
No. So, and it's just nice
she
to see.
started as Vince McMahon's mistress while Linda McMahon was in a medically induced coma. Welcome to wrestling, everybody.
That's the stuff about the Attitude Era that people are like, oh, it's the best era ever. It's like, no. This dude drugged his wife and had her in a wheelchair in the room
While he was
making out
with Trish Stratus.
And
the
like,
thing
give
is,
me a break.
in the non-storyline thing, it was actually just his wife sitting very still while he made out with...
Yeah.
Anyway.
But it just, especially in today's day and age where we are scrambling, we act like there are no role models for girls, and you have them. Just use them.
Yep.
You have a whole untapped market. If you're going to look at it from a business standpoint, you have a whole market there.
Yep.
Just let them do what they could do. Like, they're obviously good at it. Easily the second best match.
Behind the Intercontinental one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, actually. I agree with that.
Yeah. How, actually, one question.
Yeah.
How soon do you think till we see a women's main event? On a pay-per-view.
They finally pulled the trigger on doing it in NXT.
They've done it a couple times, haven't they?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a while longer for the main roster because they clearly don't have the narrative support on the main roster to really let these storylines shine.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've talked about how deep their talent roster is right now. There's just so many other people
Can
and
you imagine,
other
like,
belts, right?
Being in that roster and just being like, I mean, you obviously have to have a certain personality. Like, you'd be very competitive.
I mean, especially since right now, this is a perfect segue, the state of the main event storylines on Raw week to week is kind of weird right now, and it's going to be a while before.
Borderline abysmal.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So because this is my number one note on the Rumble, is to start off, because now it's time for the Royal Rumble match.
This is what I want to hear.
Again, this is 30 men participate.
Yep.
You start with 2 men in the ring. The other participants, randomly, we don't know what order they're going to come in, enter every 90 seconds or thereabouts. Someone actually timed it. It was minimum 90 seconds for each one, but sometimes it went up to 2 minutes. Because again, it's a TV show. They do what they want. And the only way to be eliminated from the Rumble is to be thrown over the top rope and have both of your feet touch the floor outside the ring. And that becomes relevant for a bunch of different stuff that's happened over the years.
Please note, you can also go over the top rope onto the apron and then be knocked off. And
you got to get your shoulders back under the bottom rope.
Is that what it is? Is that what the rule is?
Yeah, because people go over the apron, or they go over the top rope and catch themselves on the apron and then get kicked off.
Yeah.
And then that counts as elimination. So if you go over the apron and you get your shoulders back through the ropes.
I didn't know that the shoulder was.
Yeah, that's how you do. That's how you break. That's how you break being counted out.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, you can.
You go back to the ring, you roll your shoulders under and get back out again.
I never knew that. I never knew the shoulders was the.
Yeah, I don't know why. So my first note on the Rumble is talk about the entire premise of the one versus all. What did I say? Shit show.
Yep.
So I think it's important to say right off the bat, and because we've talked about this, we think Roman Reigns is fine.
Yeah.
I
think, I really need to. I think he's okay. He doesn't do it for me personally.
Yeah.
Just from the way he looks and the way he talks and the way he wrestles is just kind of like. Oh.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I thought the Shield was really cool. I think that I was super in for him to win the Rumble like 2 years ago when the Shield got
the Batista year.
When they clashed. When the Shield sort of got at one another in the middle of the Rumble, that was a really interesting storytelling, and Roman was super over in that moment.
Yeah,
but they didn't capitalize on it. And he looks fantastic.
Oh yeah,
I think he's fine in the ring, and I don't think he's good on the mic at all. And I think it's because they're scripting him too hard.
Yeah. That's what I've heard. Like, they just write his stuff.
He's not good with promos. Like, they sound awkward. They sound stilted. They sound childish. His stupid...
Suffer and Succotash?
The Suffer and Succotash was bad. The Tater Tots promo, I was like, is this 2015?
Yeah, man. Like, what age are we watching?
The Tater Tots promo, by the way, was Roman Reigns talking to Sheamus, who was champion at the time, who was Irish. And Roman says, seemingly unprovoked in the middle of this promo, I thought Irishmen had potatoes, which is like actually not cool. But it looks like you just have a couple tater tots laughing at his own joke. And then he repeats tater tots like 6 or 7 times in case the 8-year-olds in the crowd didn't hear him. And like he thinks in that moment, he's like thinks he's hilarious. He's like, tater tots.
Yeah.
But
like
the thing is, I don't mind Roman. Yeah. I think that he could absolutely be over if it happened naturally. But the problem is they have not allowed it to happen. They've been like, this guy's got it. He will be our next sort of top star. Yeah. And they've spent the last year, arguably longer, but particularly the last year, just like ramming him down our throats, being like, it's all about Roman to the exclusion of everyone else. Yeah. We will force you to like this guy. And they contrived this whole thing to finally get the belt on him. When I think it would have been more interesting if Dean had got the belt and then Roman had turned heel, and then they would have had a feud there. Yeah. I would have booked that match differently, but that's me. And then how more Roman is it like? Sheamus wins the belt and then puts together the League of Nations with Sheamus and Del Rio and Rusev and Wade Barrett. Puts together League of Nations on Monday Night Raw, and it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of interesting. Yeah. That week's SmackDown, Roman beats all 4 of them in a 1-on-4 match, completely denuding the entire threat. Yeah. And then how much more can we make it all about Roman? Well, we'll have him defend the title
against everyone
in the Royal Rumble, and thereby making the storyline of the entire Rumble match, which is you never know how it's going to go. It could be anything. It's about elevating the next person that they think has a shot at WrestleMania, and now the whole thing is in this lens of Roman Reigns. Yeah, and from a storyline perspective, that bothers me because the Rumble is always so good at what could happen. Anything could happen. You never know, and now it's only like Roman, especially with the really awkwardly paced scene on Raw a couple weeks ago where they put in Roman entering the Rumble at number 1. So you know that he's going to be there from the beginning, and the whole thing, literally the entire Royal Rumble event, is about Roman. Yeah. Having said that, I actually thought the Rumble match was pretty entertaining.
I actually really liked it.
I liked it a lot. I have some problems with how it ended. Yep. But we'll get to that.
I actually have a problem with the Roman thing in the middle.
Yeah? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So do I. We'll get there too. So Roman enters number 1. This is not a mixed this is not like a...
It's not a John Cena reaction.
No, this is... the crowd is not happy
to be
with
fair,
Roman.
Like we mentioned earlier, though, is like the fans that tend to come to these are very...
Especially the Royal Rumble, especially in Orlando, these will be very like wrestling fans who, if I was there, I probably would.
Who frequent online forums and like know that the inner workings of the business, and they are tired of kind of what Graham talked about is that
let Roman happen naturally. Yeah. Don't force Roman on us.
The blueprint is there, which is just shocking to me. It's like Austin got over just normally. Yeah. They let him have a little bit of they pushed him a little bit, but they just kind of let him do his thing. Same with like Michaels, same with Razor Ramon, same with Bret Hart, same with...
But there's a lot of stuff that Roman does that don't make sense that they've been having him do that don't make sense from like a storyline perspective, from a face perspective. Yeah. Like when he beat the crap out of Vince, that didn't actually make sense. It's like, why did you just assault the 70-year-old man who runs the company, even because he's being a dick to you? Like you're the good guy. You're not supposed to do that. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on about the handling of this year's Roman Reigns storyline, but I won't for right now because it's the Rumble and we have a lot to talk about. Yeah. Rusev enters, number 2, with Lana. Lana's still around.
Yeah, she is still around.
Because she hasn't been around during the whole League of Nations thing. But hey, it's Lana. That's nice. Yeah.
I feel really bad. Rusev was so good last year.
I still really like him.
I still like him, but it's like...
I think he
hasn't recovered from the Cena...
I think he's still really entertaining. Yeah. Because he is legitimately so imposing and scary, but can be kind of funny on the mic. Yeah. And I kind of like that. Anyway... Rusev doesn't really factor in. They faff around for a bit, and Rusev gets dumped over, and it's just Roman Reigns.
Which is kind of a nice nod to last year's Royal Rumble.
I guess, but I'm like, oh, please don't let them
come one at a time and just
don't let them Austin Roman Reigns. Yeah. Don't let this be.
Everyone
comes out. Yeah, Roman. No. But no, Rusev getting eliminated actually worked out pretty well because number 3, there's no focus, there's nothing happening in the ring, so everyone can go and focus on who's number 3. Whose music is that? That's weird. We don't recognize this music. Oh my God, what's TJ Stills doing in the war zone? It's AJ Styles. AJ Styles.
Dude, I popped out of my chair. I was like,
did you know he was signed?
there
had been some rumors.
There were rumors, but they were like, oh, I read somewhere that like, oh, he's going to be at the Rumble, and then they're like, no, he's not. They're going to save him for Raw because this leaked. Because they even on the WWE website, they're like, oh, the hottest free agent, AJ Styles and the Bullet Club. And if you don't know, the Bullet Club is like an NWO like faction. They're a faction
within New Japan
Japan Pro Wrestling, and they're like these bad guys, and they took over, and they were so like they were just like the hottest thing in wrestling for like 2 years.
AJ Styles is, I think, without question, the biggest wrestler who was not in WWE.
Yeah.
And who has never been in WWE. I mean, he had a dark match once, and they offered him a developmental deal or whatever.
Yeah.
He's never been in WWE for real. And he was in TNA for years. He was top of the card in TNA during their heyday. He's been, number 1 free agent in the world. And for once, the commentators let you know it. Yes. The commentators put him over. They are shocked. They say, AJ Styles, the phenomenal one.
Yeah.
They
compared him to Brock Lesnar.
They compared him to Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
They call him an 18-year veteran.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that they did that.
IWGP champion.
I think it would have been sweet if, like, entering number 3, it's not really feasible. Before the Rumble, I was like, fantasy booking, AJ wins. Well, because then that would also show to the crowd, right? That would be like, that would show to, from a storyline perspective, that would show that he's like a legit threat.
Yeah.
But I totally,
I
totally get why they didn't do that.
Yeah.
They handle him really, really well.
God, how good is his music?
It's good, yeah.
So like AJ
and they tease repeatedly that he's trying to hit his finisher, the Styles Clash, but he doesn't actually manage to connect over the spoilers over the course of the whole Rumble. But Michael Cole is like he was going for the Styles Clash, like calling it out. It's really, really cool. I'm super happy with how they handled him. It's crazy to see AJ Styles in the WWE.
Weird. But I was like watching, and then this music starts playing. The camera.
Yeah.
The camera.
This is the first of my complaints with the camera during the Rumble.
Excuse my language. The fucking camera was on Roman Reigns the whole time. Almost. Like, God, I love, like...
This is my note. Music hits. Whose music is that? It's an extended shot of Roman Reigns' idiot face.
Oh my God. And he's like looking like...
Did you see they put up a video on WWE's YouTube that's...
Of the alternate. Yeah, I saw
different camera angles, yeah.
And you know what I love the most as a wrestling fan? Debut, Titantron, and then the fans realize who it is, and that pop comes. Just like Jericho.
So, because AJ Styles is known as the phenomenal AJ Styles. That's his nickname. Yeah. And his Titantron, like his entrance video says like, I am phenomenal. And you can hear the moment that hits on the shot of Roman Reigns because the crowd loses it, and I wanted to see the screen as well so I could lose it.
It's
but
just
it was
like,
still really impressive.
It's just like that old, when Jericho debuted in Raw.
Yeah.
And they did the countdown, and then people were like, what is this? And the music's playing, and then Jericho comes up on the screen, and everyone's like, oh, yes! And that's what I wanted. I wanted to see the screen. I want to hear the crowd reaction. It's that visceral, like, I don't want to look at Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I want to see the thing come up on the Titantron. I'm like, holy shit.
Coconut oiled hair.
Yeah. And it's like, AJ Styles came out, and I literally just went bang! Like, I was up off my seat. I was like, holy shit! Yeah. Like, that's AJ Styles. So, got to see AJ Styles against Roman Reigns, which was cool.
Entrant number 4, Tyler Breeze. Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Prince Pretty.
I do feel kind of bad for him.
He's been let down a bit by coming up to the main roster. Yeah. Rumors backstage are that Triple H wanted to see him at like a heel level, sort of like a Dolph Ziggler kind of like upper mid card like heel, and that Vince was like, I don't have faith, and just
really.
That's the rumor.
It's the word, yeah.
Anyway, whatever. Taylor Breeze was fine in the Rumble. He didn't really do much. Number 5, the Social Outcasts come out. Yeah. I love these idiots. Yeah. I actually really do. I love also that Heath Slater is the straight man in this group of 4 idiots. And they cut these promos, and Heath Slater's like, I'm going to say a normal thing. Yeah. And Adam Rose is like, I'm going to be sort of obsequious. And Curtis Axel's like, I'm going to be sort of crazy. And Bo Dallas takes it and is like, I have no concept of reality. And Heath Slater has to be like, okay, guys, let's
tone it down for a little
bring it
bit.
back a little bit. I just really like that dynamic. And but which of the four is entering? Why? Axelmania is running wild on the Royal Rumble.
I do like how they acknowledged it. It was like,
He was
it's
never
been 2
eliminated.
years since he's been eliminated from the Royal Rumble. Yeah,
This was really, really good. The other social...
Sorry, for those of you who aren't
I'm
aware,
sorry. Right.
last year at the Royal Rumble,
Yeah.
Curtis Axel was making his way out to the ring, and he
Yeah.
was jumped from behind by another wrestler, Eric Rowan.
Yeah.
And he never got to enter the Rumble.
Yeah.
And he went on this like self-promotion blitz on Twitter and everything else, saying, "I was never eliminated from the Royal Rumble.
I've been in the Rumble for 300 days." Yeah, so
It was great.
I'm really glad that they got to bring closure to that.
I wish that they had been like." So when Curtis Axel got eliminated this year, they'd be like, "Oh, that's last year's elimination."
I
He's
was
still in.
We were joking about that too. We were like, and then Curtis Axel again. That would have been good. But it didn't happen. All the other three social outcasts got involved from the outside of the ring. They all got dealt with handily, and then AJ eliminated Curtis Axel.
I'm just
and
glad
that
those
was
guys
fun.
are given a chance to do something.
Me too.
You know,
'Cause they're
not
good.
everybody is going to be champion.
No.
Or any champion, but just
You need
give them a chance to just.
You need lower card. You
Yeah.
need jobbers. You need enhancement talent, as they
Yeah.
used to call it. But there's no reason that you can't have fun with them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, number 6 enters. Rumble is Jericho.
Yep. Who looks?
He's always looked a little soft.
Yeah.
But, man, spoilers, Jericho's in the Rumble for over 50 minutes
Yeah,
this year.
dude. He was in it.
Jericho put
forever.
in work.
Yeah.
And I always find him entertaining. This is the thing. I've seen people sort of criticize that, like, he's back again, but he's just making all the same dumb jokes he did before. He's still acting like an idiot like he was before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's what his character is now. Have you noticed that he's making the same dumb jokes and everyone else is like, for fuck's sake, Chris. You're 45. Like his character
He's playing that like.
he thinks he's still super cool, and everyone else is like, this is really embarrassing for you.
Yeah.
Which I really like that.
Do you think we'll see a heel Jericho run? I hope so.
Oh, probably.
God, I love those.
The three of them fight. AJ's doing really, really good.
Yeah.
He's doing super good stuff. He's really fast.
I love AJ's like the punching combination with like the spinning backhand.
The spinning
chop.
backhand is so good.
The Pele kick. You got to do the Pele kick.
Yeah.
I popped a little bit for that.
Entry number 7.
Yep.
It's Kane, the Demon Kane. Similar to the Axel thing, we were hoping Demon Kane goes around for a bit, has some fighting, gets eliminated, then Corporate Kane comes in later.
You know, like
Just because it's the Rumble and you can do goofy stuff like that.
I'm actually glad. I was going to bring that up. Like I'm glad that they didn't do a lot of goofy shit.
Yeah.
They just because it was for the title, so it's like we don't have guys coming in like old legends and other people. You know, like who you know. I mean, we know that a lot of these guys don't have a chance to win it, but they're not wasting slots, so to speak.
Oh, and speaking of like marking out moments for like talking about AJ and stuff, when the announcers are like, AJ Styles meeting Kane for the first time, and you're like, holy crap, yeah. Like they've been wrestling for years, and they've
never
would have
touched each other.
met each other.
I mean, like AJ Styles versus Big Show. We got to see all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's like, oh shit, AJ Styles, and you know.
Number 8, Gold Dust.
Yep.
Presumably AJ Styles is like, hey, Black Rain, you've lost weight. Gold Dust wrestled briefly in TNA under the name Black Rain. It was a bad part of his life.
Yeah.
Number 9, the Ryback.
Yeah.
Wearing a really ugly singlet.
Yeah.
One of my wrestling friends commented that he looks like, wearing the singlet, because it had like a square thing sort of on the stomach, he looks like Krang's body from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Just put a pair of glasses on him.
Yeah.
Shredder, my body.
Number 10, the New Day's music hits.
Yep.
And they're like, but who's it going to be? And they're sort of like doing a fake out where they're trying to make it look like Xavier's going to enter. But then the match graphic, like the graphic comes up and it says Kofi Kingston. And the announcers are like, well, according to the graphic, it's Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
So Kofi comes in. Kofi has done this thing for the last several years where he's been like managed to avoid elimination by the whole 2 feet must touch the floor thing and avoiding that.
What's he gonna do?
What cool things are he going to do this year? And I think everyone guessed correctly. It would basically be, well, Big E's going to catch him.
Yeah.
And that ends up happening.
I think the best one he's ever done was the one where, was it Cesaro who launched him over the corner?
Yeah.
And both the tips of his toes were touching the stairs when he landed. Like he landed like kind of like flat backed.
Yeah.
It was really good.
During this period of time, Ryback throws AJ Styles into orbit.
Yeah.
He just chucks him. The height on this throw was huge. Number 11, Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil's a super impressive guy, and I don't know why he doesn't get better material, because they've taken him, they're like, you're too good for a tag team, we want to see you in a singles run, so they take him away from Darren Young, who now has to job around with Sandow in the kickoff show.
Yeah.
He's huge.
Yeah.
His move is basically pick up guy and throw him across the ring, and it looks super impressive. And he's generally charismatic, and they're using him. They're using him in like their video packages for like.
He has like a Father of the Year. Like he does a lot of stuff with like kids and everything.
And he's just sort of like character-wise, he's just sort of there.
I always think people are booing him, but they're barking.
Yeah, because he does his like.
Yeah, I was like, man, they're booing the crap out of him, but then I was like, oh wait, they're barking.
Titus O'Neil takes out Goldust.
Yep.
This is interesting. This is something I observed from a storyline presentation perspective. They're counting down to entry number 12.
Yep.
And the camera goes to this wide shot where you can see the Titantron, you can see everyone in the ring. While Roman Reigns is fighting, I don't recall with who, fighting with someone on the ropes and could very easily go over and get eliminated. And it's like, you're showing the wide shot about number 12 coming in because you know Roman won't get eliminated.
Yeah.
We shouldn't know that. We do know that, but we shouldn't know that. You should be caring that Roman might be getting eliminated right now. I just think it's sort of weird.
It's
anyway.
it's little things like that.
Number 12, R-Truth. This is so good.
This is perfect.
This is so good. A while ago, for last year's Money in the Bank ladder match, they're doing the thing where someone comes out and they're like, I'm in the ladder match and I'm going to win. And then another guy in the ladder match comes out and goes, no, you're not. I'm going to win. And then a third guy comes out and goes, you two suck. I'm going to win. And then R-Truth comes out and is like, no, you all suck. I'm going to win. And Kane goes, Truth, you are not in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And Truth goes, what? Oh, my bad. And goes backstage.
Leaves.
And it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen because it was... It came out of nowhere.
Random,
It was super random. It was really funny. And they've done one or two other things like that with Truth throughout the year, like to do it as a running gag without overusing it to the point that it's not funny, which WWE is really bad for doing. So this is Truth comes out, tears down to the ring, immediately goes rooting around under it, pulls out a ladder, throws it in the ring. Everyone else is frozen.
stops. Yeah.
Everyone else stops what they're doing and just watches Truth set up this ladder. He sets up the ladder, climbs to the top, reaches up for the Money in the Bank briefcase, and is like, wait, what?
Who moved the briefcase? Or something? He
moved the
just yells it out. Yeah. I loved how everyone just stopped, and there's Truth like sliding the ladder. It's so quiet, and it's like he slides it in and he gets in, and people are just like people are like mid-punch. They're just like watching him set up this ladder. It was beautiful.
Also, I love that when he came out originally for the thing that was like, I'm in the Money in the Bank ladder match, it was Kane who was like, you're not in this match. And in this moment, it was Kane that pulled him down off the ladder. It was just sort of like, it's a neat little thing there.
It's like, as serious as we want it to be sometimes, you need stuff like that.
You really do.
Yeah.
Kofi goes over, lands on Big E, and they
parade around.
They run around like unicorns.
Yeah. I loved how, did you see Kofi took the guy's popcorn from the crowd and he's drinking soda? Yeah.
Entry number 13, Luke Harper.
Yep.
The first of several Wyatt family members. This guy's my favorite non-Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Like
love Luke Harper.
He's real good. He's also he's deceptively big. He's actually a huge guy, but you just, with his like shapeless jeans and shirt and the fact that he's usually standing beside Braun Strowman, you're like, he looks like a normal sized guy. He's really big.
Yeah, he's big. But he's like, he can move, he can wrestle. Yeah. He's great. I love Luke Harper.
And then, the League of Nations, or three of them, Del Rio, Sheamus, and Rusev, but not Wade Barrett because Wade Barrett doesn't get a pay-per-view payday, shows up, drags Roman out of the ring, beats him up. Vince is there cheering this on, and the cameras ignore the Rumble. The cameras they're all focused on this beatdown.
Yeah.
That bums me out. That they were just like, oh yeah, there's stuff happening over there, but we're all about this.
To Roman.
Now, to be fair, during that period of time, number 14, Stardust enters. Roman's still getting beaten down. They do a cool spot where they lay Roman out on the French announce table. Rusev runs along the Spanish table, the English table, and then jumps and dives and puts Roman through the French table, and then lying on the ground, throws his arms up like, I am winner! And it's really funny. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, there's a Rumble match going on, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was...
Well, I mean, it's that one versus all thing that we were
talking about before.
So, okay. So...
Oh, then Rusev pops back up, hugs Vince, and they all leave, going, job well done.
Yeah. So, Roman's been beat up.
Yeah.
They send some people to check on Roman.
With a stretcher.
Roman refuses to get on the stretcher.
Yeah.
Roman is holding his arm or shoulder or whatever, and he walks to the back.
What did I write down here? Oh, this is in all caps. Why is Reigns fucking walking out, comma, this is horseshit? I know it sounds weird to complain that they're not making, I know it sounds weird to complain they're not making him look strong.
Yeah.
But if he can walk, his character would get back in the ring.
Yeah. I was losing it I was watching this by myself initially.
JBL says he refused to be put on that gurney. Then he shouldn't be leaving.
Yeah. I never understood it. They spend a year making this guy was laughing at beatdowns from Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
This guy was taking on 4-minute ones by himself. Mm-hmm. This guy was doing everything that the company could give him. He was just winning at everything, right? He was never really kind of at odds at any time. Always beating the odds were always against him, and he's always succeeding.
And now he gets to walk backstage, sit down for half an hour, come back and win the Rumble, we assume.
Yeah, which made me think, I was like, why doesn't anyone do this?
Yeah.
What if I just go to the Rumble?
They've had people before, leave, they've had people hide, or they had, Vince and Austin, fight into the back, and then Austin came back later. But to be like, oh, you are so injured that we need to remove you from the match, but you're not eliminated.
Yeah.
I thought, stupid.
Initially, I was like, before I really started thinking about it, I was like, okay, well, this is their way of...
I found it insulting.
I thought this was their way of, taking him out of the match, but not making him lose any kind of, what they built. But then I was like, well, how the fuck does he get back in the ring?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I just don't get it.
Yeah. It's inconsistent with his character. It doesn't... Yeah. It's dumb. For, the viewers know it's dumb.
Yeah.
But he will be back. Number 15, the Big Show comes in. How will anyone eliminate a giant?
That never gets old. They're just he's so big, how are they going to throw him over the top rope?
Big Show eliminates Titus. He eliminates Ryback.
Yep.
Number 16, Neville comes in, puts on a clinic of flipping around the ring. Neville's really good.
Yes.
Underutilized, but because he's small and he sounds funny. Because he has an accent, you see.
Yeah.
He's from...
Some weird ears, too.
Yeah.
But...
somewhere in all that, Kofi Kingston got eliminated.
Yeah! That's what I was saying. I was like, what happened to Kofi? And they Michael Cole mentions it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, Kofi got eliminated.
And I'm like, what? How did we miss that? And it was Jericho jumped up, did a kick from the turnbuckle, and just clocked him right off of Big E's shoulders. Yeah. And we get to see a replay of it, but got completely lost in the League of Nations beating up Roman, which was really disappointing. Number 17, Braun Strowman from the Wyatt family.
Yep.
This guy is stupid big. He's almost as tall as Big Show. He's taller than Kane.
Yeah.
And he's as wide as a house.
Yep.
It's nuts.
So what the prototypical wrestler looks like.
Yeah. So he eliminates Kane.
Yep.
He and Show have a big off.
Yeah.
And this works out well because this takes out Big Show earlier than usual.
Yeah.
They mentioned that 4 times in 4 different Rumbles, Big Show has been eliminated by the man who will eventually win.
Oh my god.
Which is weird. Anyway, Strowman puts him in a sleeper hold and pushes him over.
Yeah.
Number 18, Kevin Owens.
Yep.
Inexplicably still alive.
Yeah. Selling, this becomes apparent later.
Yeah.
Selling the injuries he sustained before. Selling is when you take an injury and being like, oh, you got hit in the knee and you're like, oh, my knee.
Yeah, and you hold your knee and you're like, oh, I'm showing you
Kevin
that
comes
hurts.
limping out
like
a goddamn war hero.
Yeah.
And he heads into the match, goes right after AJ Styles, good little pop there.
Yep.
And a little bit of a rigmarole and then says, welcome to WWE. Chucks AJ Styles out of the ring. right?
In between that, actually, at one point, Neville whips AJ over the ring, like going so fast. I was like, there's no way he's getting back in, and AJ manages to grab the rope and like get himself back in. It was really fast. But yeah, Owens whips him out. This is brilliant. How do you eliminate AJ Styles without this crowd, this smarky internet wrestling crowd getting angry with you?
Yeah.
You have another guy they love do the eliminating.
It's great.
And he eliminates him, does AJ's
the
flourish,
Yeah.
and says, "Welcome to WWE." Beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, it seems like Owens may have been intentionally overselling his injuries so that AJ thought he was more hurt than he was, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yep.
Massive continuing AJ Styles chant continues.
He got like a standing ovation.
Oh, yeah.
Which is great. That's like, I do not expect at this day, like in this point in my life, I don't expect someone to come in and win the title right away.
Yeah.
That is how you do like a pre-existing star to come into the company.
Yeah.
That's like how you can do it. Imagine if Roman Reigns eliminated AJ Styles.
Oh. Nope.
The crowd would have burnt that place to the ground.
Number 19, Dean Ambrose.
Yep.
Also suffering from his injuries in the Last Man Standing match. Owens looks flabbergasted.
Yeah. He's got the best like face.
They fight. There's a general melee everywhere.
Yep.
Speaking of Owens looking flabbergasted, number 20, Sami Zayn.
That was great.
With a terrible looking Titantron. His
Yeah.
video looks ugly. Owens looks stunned. We don't have time to get into it. They have history.
They have beef.
Yeah. Owens. I wrote Kevin Owens, the man of 1,000 feuds.
Yeah.
Number 21, it's Eric Rowan. Sure.
Yeah, sure.
The other Wyatt. Why not? I dig stables in the Rumble. Punk and the Nexus was one of the best Rumbles I'd seen in a while.
I don't think I saw that one.
This would have been before the pipe bomb, but it was like Punk and a bunch of cronies, and they just ran it. There was like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And Punk just sat there laughing. And like someone would come out, they'd beat the crap out of him, throw them over, and then sit there for a minute. And it was really funny. The Wyatts eliminate Neville and then Stardust, and then it's basically back to 3-on-3 with Wyatts versus Ambrose, Zayn, and Jericho.
Yep.
Number 22, Mark Henry. Oh, right. Damn it. This means in the next 8 people, we still have Jack Swagger. Yeah.
Because there was a very strong part of me that was like, maybe Daniel Bryan will come back.
Daniel Bryan.
But,
yeah.
Okay.
He gets eliminated almost immediately. Mark Henry's in the Rumble for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Zayn is hurled out by Braun Strowman. Number 23, Brock Lesnar.
Oh, yeah.
Time to send some Wyatts to Suplex City.
Okay. I love Brock Lesnar, but
Yeah.
didn't he look a little bit like King Hippo? He looked like he was really pale, and he was like, I don't know, maybe he was just a little bloated or something. Yeah. But he looked like, and he's like, Brock Lesnar. I know that his legs aren't that skinny because if you compare them to mine, he probably like way bigger. But on camera,
Comparative to his upper body?
and comparative to the rest of
Little
his body,
wheelie legs,
yeah. I was like, man, he looks like King Hippo.
Suplexes everywhere.
Dude, clotheslines the shit out of Braun Strowman.
Oh, yeah. Number 24, Jack Swagger, who immediately starts attacking Brock because he's apparently been hit in the head too many times. 15 seconds. That's the fastest elimination of the night.
Yeah.
Jack Swagger in and immediately out. Brock does a series of flying knees to Strowman.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive. Number 25, The Miz, who is not an idiot, comes out and goes to join the commentary table instead of getting involved in the hellscape in the match.
I almost applauded. Like, I was like, attaboy, Miz.
Gets on the mic and says, I will turn Suplex City into Misney World.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Harper gets super clotheslined by Brock.
Yeah.
Number 26 is Del Rio,
Yeah.
who the announcers say, now, Del Rio's upset because earlier tonight he lost the U.S. title. And it's like, yeah, we've seen him since then when he came out and beat up Roman. Whatever.
Okay.
Brock finally eliminates Strowman.
Yeah.
Number 27, Bray Wyatt, who I could see winning this.
Yeah, that's who I picked beforehand. Personally, I was
see him
like,
winning this.
I'm picking Bray Wyatt.
I would like to see that happen still. Because the Wyatts, even though they've been eliminated, it's no DQ. So they get back in the ring, they beat up Brock, and the 3 Wyatts, it's a 4-on-1 Brock beatdown.
Yeah.
Brock throws them out again, they come back again, and then they beat up and eliminate Brock Lesnar.
Do you have a problem with that, like, storyline-wise? Because, like, where does the
'cause I
line
think
for no DQ, like, how far does it go?
Yeah, it's a little weird. The reason that this bothers me, again, from a storyline perspective, is there's the 3 Wyatts, it's no DQ, they come in, they beat up Brock Lesnar, and then they're like, okay, Bray, you got it from here later. Why wouldn't they just stick around?
Yeah,
Why
that's
wouldn't
what I
they
mean.
beat up
Like,
everyone else?
Yeah. It's just like, why doesn't everyone do what The Miz does? And just hang outside the
wait.
ring? Yeah, and then You know, like
It's like you get 30 guys hanging around outside the ring.
Nobody wants to
and
go
then
inside.
someone has to be like, okay. And they get in the ring and they're like, look, someone come in here and fight me.
Yeah.
Number 28, Ziggler.
Yep.
Batista has won the Rumble twice from number 28.
Really?
But Ziggler's not gonna.
Nope.
No.
Not a chance.
Miz finally gets in, tries to eliminate Ziggler, does his finisher, poses. It's good. Number 29, Sheamus, walking to the ring, Roman Reigns destroys him.
Yeah.
It's a good entrance.
Yeah.
It looks awesome. It's like you get to see Sheamus walking in, and Roman just boom. And it's like, oh, that looks super sweet.
But then you realize...
Wait, Reigns has just been like having a power nap.
Yeah.
This is not fair.
Let's get into that. Because Roman Reigns was escorted out of the match.
He walked
after
out,
taking...
though.
Yeah,
he did like a thing where he like grabbed his shoulder and
was
like
holding his arm.
He turned around and looked at the ring like, but I want a ring.
and then goes away for, what, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Has a nice little nap, and then comes motoring back in, disregarding any previous injuries he might have had. Superman punches somebody with the arm that he was cradling.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
what do you do? If we notice stuff like that,
I
like
know.
other people must have noticed stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Miz gets thrown out, Del Rio gets thrown out, and we get number 30. Who could number 30 be? Oh, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
He's been off TV for
know-
a month so that it would...
There was a part of me that was like, damn, Brian. Damn, Brian.
Daniel
Damn,
Bryan. It's Triple H. And there is a huge pop for a badly executed storyline just because it's someone who's not Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing. Where does his bottle go, by the way?
I don't know.
Someone in the audience just gets like beamed in the face with his wet bottle.
Yeah.
Like, the whole like pretending that Triple H was injured and keeping him off TV for a month, that was a good idea.
Doesn't work
that
when
was
he's
a,
on
that was
NXT.
that was a oh right. That was a smart move in the aid of a bad idea. He gets a pedigree to Ziggler, which is, by the way, the only pedigree he lands. He goes for like 6 pedigrees,
Yeah.
and he never actually gets one. Right. He pedigrees Ziggler, Reigns Superman punches Wyatt in this sort of Reigns Triple H dick waving competition.
Yeah.
That really is like, no, the rest of you don't matter. You were just props for
Yeah.
this feud.
Yeah. Which I hated.
Jericho is still in this.
Yep.
His final time in the Rumble would be 50 minutes, 50 seconds. Reigns would be 59 minutes, 50 seconds, having entered at number 1. But Jericho didn't get to go have a nap.
Yeah. It was like minus 30 minutes because Reigns was
Yeah.
hanging out.
Sheamus gets in the ring. There's a flurry of moves all around.
Yeah.
The Reigns versus Triple H / Authority story is stale and has been going on for too long.
Yeah.
But if you must see it through, of all the storylines you abandon, if the WWE must see this storyline through, why must it involve the title? Why can't someone else win the title and have... Why can't you have Reigns and Triple H at Mania as a marquee match
Yeah.
without the title?
I'd love to be able to answer that question, but I
know.
can't.
I would
And it's
just-
just like, I think that they are still they're all in on making Roman Reigns
Yeah, I know.
it.
It's a mistake.
Yeah. And
Why-
this is testament to that fact.
Yeah.
And there's no secret, like, even going on, I don't know if you watched Raw,
Yeah.
they made a triple threat match, Reigns, Ambrose, Brock Lesnar. Winner goes to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And we know who's winning.
Yeah, it's Reigns, obviously. Bray Wyatt and Triple H face off. That's
Oh,
kinda
that was
cool.
great. The crowd was so good. They're like, oh. I love
And
the, oh.
Triple H is like, hey, Bray Wyatt, go beat up Roman Reigns. And Bray Wyatt's like, oh, you want me to beat that guy up? Oh, yeah, I could beat that guy up. Or I could not be a lackey and just beat you up.
So that
just
was great.
attacks him.
It was good. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. Like, that's character development. It's like, oh, he's the boss. He thinks he controls everyone, right?
Triple H and Sheamus dump Bray Wyatt out. It's a lame elimination. It's just sort of boring. Jericho gets a huge air off a crossbody from the top turnbuckle. Kind of impressive. This section of the Rumble should be called Triple H Tries to Land a Pedigree.
Yep.
Ambrose finally eliminates Jericho, and we have our Final Four. They always like to call it the Final Four. It's Team Authority, Triple H and Sheamus, versus Team Shield Bros, Reigns and Ambrose.
Team loser buys beers.
And at this point, it's like, please, Ambrose.
No, not a
I know.
I know
How
that
cool would that
deep
be?
down you were
Put
like, come on.
He's still Intercontinental Champion, double champ. They've done it before. It'd be super cool. I'm desperate for either Shield mate to heel turn, basically, at this point.
Yeah.
Superman punch. Sheamus is out. Triple H immediately eliminates Reigns,
Yeah. Just
and you're like, oh,
dumps him.
so Reigns isn't winning this.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good at least. but that means Triple H is going to win it. So I was like, are they going to do it? Are they going to make a star out of Ambrose? 2 belts after all he fought through tonight. What an amazing story that would be.
Yeah.
No, of course not, because that would bring us joy. Instead, they slug for a bit, and Triple H sends Ambrose over the top rope by standing up abruptly.
Yeah. I felt like
Triple H wins.
The ending fell a little flat.
Your winner and 14-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Triple H. Steph and Vince come out to celebrate.
Triple H has never got a huge pop when he won.
Oh, yeah.
Triple H is never going to get booed in Florida because NXT is in Florida.
Yep.
The man is unto a god.
Yeah.
I wasn't upset when I first saw it. I'm not upset now.
No.
And I was like, I understand what they're trying to do.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have found more entertaining ways to handle it. I think it was the obvious result, I think.
Yeah, and I think that they were shoehorned into it. They had to do it. Who else were they going to put the title on? I know we say anyone, but they want Reigns to be champion. They need someone to wrestle Reigns.
Like, Mania's not till April, right?
Yeah.
They've got time to develop stuff. I would have liked to see it go on Bray Wyatt. I think that would have been really interesting. And let Triple H and Reigns have their pissing match back and forth, and not have it involve the title.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's again, it probably doesn't
totally-
make sense because it's all fundamentally about the title, but at the same time, the whole motivations of Vince and the Authority don't really make sense when it's like, from a backstage perspective, they want Reigns to be the man and they want to put him in front of everyone's face, but from an on-camera perspective, they want to fight him every step of the way.
Yeah.
And from an on-camera perspective, they're like, oh, it's what's best for business. But to achieve their off-camera goal of putting Reigns over, the on-camera goal should be that Reigns is amazing, so he is the best for business, so we should support him.
Yeah.
And they don't like each other, but then that's interesting in its own way, that it's like, I don't like you, but the crowd does, even though they don't, but it's like, but the crowd likes you, so I have to put up with you. But instead, they just fight for no motivated reason.
Yeah. There's like...
And I liked this match. This is the
Yeah,
thing.
that's funny.
I really enjoyed this whole pay-per-view, and
Yeah.
the Rumble match was super entertaining.
Yeah.
But I just have this problem with how they booked this feud, and you're right. Honestly, I don't know how else they could have got out of it because they sort of painted themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
So
They and I don't even know, like, what do you do with Reigns? Like, you've got Reigns in this position where anytime, maybe, let's say 70% of the arenas he goes to, he's going to get booed out of.
Yeah.
And not even like a half and half John Cena reaction. We're talking like boo.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying boo earns, I was saying boo. And it's like, they have to turn him heel, I feel like. I don't know.
I think that would help his character immensely.
Yeah.
I think that would help him get over more. You know, have him turn on Dean.
Yeah.
He needs to. I thought that Dean was gonna win the championship at Survivor Series, and that Reigns would turn.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
It would have been much more interesting.
But
But who knows?
that's not what they want. They're very
that's
clear.
fantasy book.
Yes, and it's very clear that I'm not on board with their plan for Reigns to be like number one, but I am one of those people that can say, okay, well, I can kind of ignore Reigns. You know, I know he takes up a lot of time.
It's tough when it's like the first half hour and the last half hour of every Monday
Yeah.
Night Raw, but there's 2 other hours of Raw.
But there's other stuff I can watch. You
Yeah.
know, like I love Kevin Owens.
And again,
I love Ambrose.
From a crafting a narrative perspective, I'm very interested to see where the storyline goes,
Yeah.
even if I'm not really enjoying it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can sit here and say like I didn't like how they did it, but I can see why they did it.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of interested to see like what they do with it. It all feels very predictable, and I'm hoping they do something.
Yeah.
Like they've got an arena that holds 100,000 people that they have to fill for WrestleMania 32,
Which
and it's
apparently is the biggest WrestleMania ever. I don't know why
Yeah.
they keep calling it that.
well, this one apparently is because like what's the record before 3 at the Pontiac Silverdome for like I think the record is WrestleMania 3 at the Pontiac Silverdome, and it was like 80 some odd thousand people.
Wasn't 3 the one they did in 3 different places? Or was that 2?
I think that was 2. 3 was Andre versus Hogan.
Right.
Yeah.
Pressing, right, of course.
But
Anyway, We should wrap up. We've been talking for a
Going
long-ass
forever.
time.
Yo.
Talk about the first episode of the Deep End.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, let us know what you
Please
think.
let us know.
What you want to see more of, less of, whatever. Let us know. Like I said, this is a pilot, and we want to sort of feel it out. But
Like, did we go too into detail? Did we not go into
maybe
detail?
I had a lot of fun just talking
Yeah, man, this is so
effusively
much
about
fun.
wrestling.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll do something else. I'm sure we'll do this again.
Yeah.
And maybe there'll be tweaks to it, but
I think our plan right now is we're gonna wait for feedback.
Yeah, and then we'll
then
figure
we're gonna
out.
see what's
well,
gonna
we have
happen.
no idea what standard length these are going to be or how frequent they're going to be. No idea, but hopefully you enjoyed this one. And thanks so much for joining Adam and myself on some sort of sidewalk slam. We'll talk to you next time.
Fucking Shivani.